Chapter 2860. However, ever since the Qianshu realm's Jinghua heaven, Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yan had been plotting to kill him. They'd made it clear that he would become the greatest obstacle to the demon race's rise to prominence. Judging from this, perhaps Jiangchen was afraid of him. Afraid. When he heard Du Xiaofu's words, Jiangchen's incomparably calm face broke into a faint smile. He seemed extremely disdainful. Given your current strength, what qualifications do you think you have to make me fear you? As he spoke, he cast a sidelong glance at Du Xiaofu, his gaze filled with ridicule. In the face of Jiangchen's words, Du Xiaofu didn't respond. Instead, he remained silent and didn't refute him. Jiangchen's words made sense. Judging from the power he displayed when he attacked, he'd at least reached the meditative realm. This kind of strength was terrifying enough. Even in the 33 heavens, he was a peerless existence. Even though Du Xiaofu had reached the legendary realm of the virtual Tao, he'd only just begun on this path. Compared to Jiangchen, he was still far, far away. Therefore, if Jiangchen really wanted to kill him, it would be as easy as flipping over his hand. Listen to my advice. Return to Shenwu world and we'll mind our own business. When Jiangchen saw that Du Xiaofu wasn't saying anything, he spoke again. Why am I the one returning to Shenwu world? Why aren't you the one giving up on the demon race's so-called grand plan and coexisting peacefully with the 33 heavens? Du Xiaofu frowned slightly and asked in return. He didn't dodge. Instead, he stared straight into Jiangchen's eyes, taking in every bit of his expression. Du Xiaofu's intuition told him that Jiangchen truly did fear him. Although he didn't know where this fear came from, there had to be a fundamental reason. I am the demon ancestor. It is fated that I cannot coexist with the 33 heavens. Jiangchen's expression didn't change in the slightest. After he finished speaking, he looked at Du Xiaofu again and said, "There's no point in talking too much nonsense. The opportunity has been given to you. Whether or not you seize it depends on your choice. The reason why I'm saying this is because of our past friendship. If you don't know what's good for you and insist on obstructing the rise of my demon race, then don't blame me for being ruthless." At the end of his speech, Jiangchen's voice sank slightly, as if he was angry. However, his expression didn't change much, and it was as calm and indifferent as before. It's impossible for me to return to Shenwu world. If you want to do it now. Du Xiaofu stared intently at Jiangchen, getting straight to the point. He couldn't accept such a proposal, even though he didn't have many attachments in the 33 heavens. There were only old friends like Fu Yibai and the old ancestor of the Heavenly Wood Divine Tree, as well as the Yuqing Divine Nation. However, once the demon race truly rose to prominence, would they really let Shenwu world go? On the other hand, if the demon race were to start another bloody war, the Yuqing Divine Kingdom would definitely not stay out of it. The other experts like Yu Taiyan, Chu Daoju, Ling Feng, Long San and the others would definitely not turn a blind eye to it. If these people were to participate in the battle, Du Xiaofu would also feel uneasy hiding in a corner. That was why he couldn't agree to Jiangchen's proposal. Even if he really did want to become enemies, he'd do it for good. By now, Du Xiaofu was certain that the young man in front of him was exactly as he'd said. He was the demon ancestor, but he was also Jiangchen. Jiangchen's memories were still there. Nothing had changed, but at the same time, his identity as the demon ancestor had become one. In that case, there was no way to make him realize his mistake and give up on the bloody war. Du Xiaofu, do you really think I won't kill you? As if someone had touched a nerve, Jiangchen was suddenly enraged. Layers of murderous intent radiated from his chiseled face. His clothes fluttered without the wind, and it suddenly fluttered while a terrifying force coiled around him. It was the quintessence energy of the Grand Tao, and it formed the most perfect laws in the world, causing Du Xiaofu's figure to be confined on the spot and unable to move. "I told you if you want to kill me, you can do it now," Du Xiaofu said calmly. He looked at Jiangchen and said, "In reality, you've been wanting to kill me for a long time. Why put on such an act now? Otherwise, given your status, Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yan wouldn't have tried to kill me over and over again. The two of them have some misgivings about our relationship, but the truth is that you've always tacitly approved of their actions. Isn't that right? He'd seen through these problems long ago, but now that he'd pointed them out, he felt a strange sensation in his heart. He'd completely torn away all pretenses of cordiality with Jiangchen and stood on opposite sides. Du Xiaofu sighed inwardly. All of this was within his expectations, but now that he was faced with it, he found it difficult to accept. After all, Jiangchen had helped him a great deal in divine martial world. He really did view him as a friend. In the face of Du Xiaofu's rhetorical question, Jiangchen fell silent for a long time. He didn't say anything. Du Xiaofu didn't say anything either. The two of them stood facing each other, as if neither wanted to be the first to break the silence. The atmosphere was somewhat strange. In the distance, Dongli Qihuang, Shen Yan, and the 9 high-level immortal experts all watched the situation nervously, their hearts in their throats. Your Excellency, you must take action to suppress this brat. You absolutely can't let him live. If Du Xiaofu doesn't die, he'll be a huge threat to our demon race. He must be killed. This brat has only cultivated for a few years, yet he's already reached the ancient era's Void Dao realm. If he's given more time to grow, the demon race will have another great enemy in the future. Your Excellency, you must take action. Many experts cried silently in their hearts, hoping that Jiangchen could use his absolute strength to kill Du Xiaofu and eliminate the demon race's greatest threat. This was especially true for Dongli Qihuang and Shen Yan. Since their early years in divine martial world, they'd had many dealings with Du Xiaofu. After arriving in the 33 heavens, they'd attacked him many times, but they still hadn't been able to kill him. An enemy like this made the two of them feel uneasy. As time passed, they grew more and more fearful of Du Xiaofu. They didn't dare underestimate him in the slightest. Earlier, if their Excellency hadn't appeared in time to save them, they probably would have died under Du Xiaofu's sword. Your Excellency will definitely kill him. Definitely. Dongli Qihuang's aura was very unstable. He'd been deeply injured by Du Xiaofu, but he still clenched his fists tightly and gritted his teeth. Your Excellency's physical body was suppressed in divine martial world for many years. His new consciousness has also affected him. I hope that these things won't really cause him to change too much. Shen Yan was still somewhat worried. Jiangchen's identity was a completely new consciousness and had nothing to do with the demon ancestor. Even if His Excellency had awakened many of his ancient memories, he'd still be somewhat affected. Then, no one said anything. They all stared intently at Du Xiaofu and their Excellency, their eyes filled with hope. They hoped to see their Excellency take action. It seems you're stubborn. Since that's the case, I'll kill you right here, right now. He looked at Du Xiaofu and said, Don't worry, Du Xiaofu. As soon as he finished speaking, he lightly thrust his palm towards Du Xiaofu. This palm seemed calm, without any fluctuations emitting from it. But Du Xiaofu could feel layers upon layers of the great Tao circulating between the palm and fingers. A terrifying strength of laws was woven together, forming a cage that bound him up. Is this the power of the meditative realm? As he watched the palm descend, Du Xiaofu's eyes narrowed. He found it difficult to calm the shock in his heart. Up until now, aside from Jiangchen, he'd only encountered one other meditative realm expert. That was the primordial demon dragon clan's patriarch Draconic. This was the first time he'd faced one head-on. Around Jiangchen's palm, runes invisible to the naked eye took shape. Within the void, it was as if heaven and earth were rotating. Mountains were collapsing, giant waves were roaring, the sky was trembling, and the earth was overturned. The terrifying power of the world pressed down on him. The terrifying power was like the collapse of the world, the collapse of the heavenly Tao, and all living things crumbled. Rumble. An invisible force came crashing down. Even though Du Xiaofu was far away, he could smell the scent of death. He was completely unable to struggle. In reality, he didn't struggle in the slightest. Disregarding whether or not he could do anything in front of the meditative realm, he was already heavily injured. He'd long since reached the end of his tether. There was no way he could put up any effective resistance. He could only watch helplessly as the pressure bore down on him. It was like an incomparably majestic mountain was about to crush him into powder. Rumble. Du Xiaofu seemed to hear a terrifying rumble. It was like a series of muffled thunders rolling towards him. Their brazen aura suppressed the world and devoured everything in its path. His Excellency has finally made his move. Du Xiaofu's time of death has come. No one can save him. In the distance, Dongli Qihuang couldn't help but laugh sinisterly. His laughter carried an incomparably carefree feeling. With His Excellency's move, Du Xiaofu will undoubtedly die. So long as he dies, we'll be rid of a calamity for our demon race. Chen Yan's brows eased up as well, and he felt much more relaxed. They were well aware of Du Xiaofu's threat. Just as His Excellency and His Excellency had said, the demon race was indeed afraid of him. Otherwise, the two of them wouldn't have repeatedly attacked and tried to kill him as soon as possible. If His Excellency and His Excellency had both awakened back in the divine martial world, they absolutely wouldn't have let him live until now. But that didn't matter. Today, His Excellency would personally kill him. He absolutely wouldn't give Du Xiaofu a chance to live. Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yan's lips curled into sinister smiles. It was as if they could already see Du Xiaofu's body exploding and his primordial spirit dying. I've already given you a chance. You're the one who didn't know how to cherish it. These words came out of Jiangchen's mouth. His palm descended gently, but it seemed to carry the power of 1,000 caddies. It suppressed everything and crushed everything in its path. Du Xiaofu stood there unmoving as if he'd lost his mind. He didn't close his eyes and wait for death. Instead, he calmly felt the vast, formless power crushing down on him. There were some things he couldn't change. He could only face them head-on. Since Jiangchen wanted to kill him and had the absolute power to crush him, there was nothing more to think about. He could only wait calmly. I never thought I'd die at your hands, Du Xiaofu said softly. His heart was filled with boundless emotion, and he couldn't help but lament endlessly. However, just as Du Xiaofu was sighing with emotion, a sharp beam of light suddenly burst forth from the void in front of him. The light was like a peerless blade, tearing through heaven and earth as it appeared before him. Terrifying light exploded forth, and a murderous aura shook the heavens and earth. It formed the shape of a domineering blade and slashed downwards. Crackle. Jiangchen's palm was surrounded by scenes of destruction and the collapse of the great Tao. Instantly, everything was split apart by the light. Terrifying and vast, the origin power of the great Tao exploded, transforming into a raging tide that filled the sky, destroying everything in its path. Enormous black holes appeared in the surrounding area. It was incomparably terrifying. As for Jiangchen, he was sent flying by this sudden turn of events. He was sent flying into the distance. That's... Du Xiaofu's gaze trembled. He couldn't hide his pounding heart. The aura of that light was very familiar. He'd encountered it before, so he recognized it immediately. It's that blade again. It's that bloodbath. Du Xiaofu's eyes widened. When he saw a blood-gold longsword appear in the void before him, a terrifying murderous aura swirled around it. It was intimidating. How could Du Xiaofu not recognize such a longsword? Back in the Qiansu Jinghua heaven, they'd been hunted down by numerous beast experts. Then, they'd been attacked by a meditative forgetfulness expert. When they'd been forced out of the ancient desolate dimension and faced death, it was his master, Yu Yuqian, Yu Taiyan, and the others who'd arrived with this blade and saved them. Du Xiaofu's memories of the bloodbath were still fresh in his mind. It was the most terrifying weapon he'd ever seen. Back in the day, thousands of Yu Qing divine kingdom's never-dying realm cultivators had been surrounded by hundreds of thousands of beast experts. They'd relied on the bloodbath to intimidate everyone present. Even the meditative forgetfulness expert didn't dare act rashly. In the end, they'd relied on the longsword to tear open the void and enter the supreme Changrong heaven, allowing them to escape unscathed. Du Xiaofu feared he'd never be able to remember such a scene in his life. It was too deeply engraved in his mind, too shocking. And now, just as Jiangchen was about to attack him, the bloodbath reappeared. "Is Master here?" muttered Du Xiaofu. He glanced around, trying to find the person who'd come here with the blade and saved him. However, he was disappointed. No one came after him. Only the blade hovered in the air, trembling faintly. "I knew you'd come." In the distance, Jiangchen came to a stop. His eyes glowed with a strange light as he stared at the bloodbath. "Since you've come all the way here, why don't you show yourself? I'd like to see what kind of person you are." His eyes didn't move. As soon as he finished speaking, he sank into silence. He simply stared indifferently at the long sword. "Jiangchen, do you know the identity of the bloodbath's owner?" Du Xiaofu was rather surprised. In the past, he'd asked Yu Qian, Yu Taiyin, and the others about the bloodbath, but none of them had told him anything about its origins or the identity of its owner. Now, it seemed that perhaps Jiangchen had discovered something. Du Xiaofu's interest was boundless. He cast his gaze on the long sword. Swish, not long after Jiangchen spoke, the bloodbath burst forth with resplendent light. Then, a figure gently walked out of the light. He stepped into the air and stood in front of Du Xiaofu. "Long time no see." It was a man in green robes. When he appeared, he didn't look at Jiangchen. Instead, he faced Du Xiaofu, his lips curved into a smile as he spoke to Du Xiaofu. When he saw this figure, Du Xiaofu was completely stunned. He stared blankly at the man in green robes, unable to speak for a long time. Du Xiaofu couldn't even speak properly. He was truly shocked and felt that the identity of the person who had come was inconceivable. He looked at the man in green robes, then at the long sword beside him. For a moment, his mind couldn't wrap itself around the situation. Du Xiaofu greets Senior Lu. After a long time, Du Xiaofu came to his senses. He bent down and bowed to the man in green robes. How could he not recognize this person? In the past, when he'd been in divine martial world, he'd seen this person's incarnation many times. It was none other than the Lord of the 3,000 sectors, who'd once pursued the demon god to divine martial world, Lu Xiaoyu. Many of his techniques had been taught to him by this man. Lu Xiaoyu's appearance stunned Du Xiaofu. No matter what, Du Xiaofu never would have guessed that the Lord of the 3,000 sectors was the bloodbath's owner. If that was the case, then Master Yu Qian and senior brother Yu Taiyin had both borrowed the bloodbath. Then what was their relationship with Lu Xiaoyu? No wonder Master and senior brothers were so arrogant. Under the circumstances where Yu Qing Divine Kingdom wasn't strong, they didn't take many forces seriously. And back then, the Extermination Spiritual Sanctuary suddenly mobilized thousands of Immortal Realm experts. So the force behind them is the Yunyang sect, which is related to the Lord of the 3,000 sectors. It was only now that Du Xiaofu understood these questions. Yu Taiyin, Chu Daoju, Long San, Ling Feng, and the others were all very strong. They were backed by the Lingwu world, which was one of the 3,000 sectors, and looked down on all their opponents. Du Xiaofu had always wanted to see how powerful the Yunyang sect was. However, it was only today that he realized that its strength was far beyond his expectations. The Lord of the 3,000 sectors. Just thinking about such a background made one's blood boil. They're really good at hiding things. I can't believe I only found out about this now. Du Xiaofu smiled bitterly. He'd asked many times about the bloodbath, the Yunyang sect, and so on, but Yu Taiyin, Yu Qian, Chu Daoju, and the others all avoided the important points and dwelled on the trivial. They kept it a secret and didn't tell him. In fact, he knew that those people didn't want him to bite off more than he could chew. That would be detrimental to his cultivation. However, when such a big matter was revealed, it was indeed shocking. Chapter 2861. You don't have to call me senior, I'm your senior. The green-robed man smiled warmly and said to Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu was even more shocked when he heard this. His mind was filled with confusion. He opened his mouth but didn't know what to say. Senior. Du Xiaofu was confused, but it wasn't hard to figure out where this title came from. Ever since he started cultivating, there were only a few masters he had worshipped, and they were none other than Gu Qingyang of Shenwu World's Ancient Heaven Sect, Xiahou Fenglei and Duanmu Qiongtian of Seven Stars Hall, and finally, Yu Qing Divine Country's imperial ancestor, Yu Qian. Du Xiaofu already knew that Yu Qian came from the same sect as the master of the 3,000 boundless worlds in front of him. The other party also said that he was his senior, So other than Yu Qian, who else could his master be? After knowing this, Du Xiaofu was speechless. It was no wonder that when he had just become Yu Qian's disciple, that old man had always nagged him about wanting him to learn from his senior martial brother, to strive to become a great figure, to stand at the top, and to make the old man proud. At that time, Du Xiaofu was very puzzled. Just who was that senior brother of his? Could it be that he was a powerful meditative realm expert? However, he didn't think too much about it. After all, Yu Qian and the others hid it well. They only told him that they had a terrifying senior, so he didn't think too much about it. Today, Du Xiaofu was really shocked. The master of the 3,000 boundless worlds, that was a terrifying master who controlled the entire 3,000 boundless worlds. Du Xiaofu learned from Chu Daoju and the others that the 3,000 boundless worlds were very powerful. Lu Xiaofu's strength was unquestionable. Don't be surprised, there are many things you should know now. But now is not the time to talk, I'll tell you slowly in the future. The green-robed man, Lu Xiaoyu, smiled as he spoke to Du Xiaofu. At the same time, he waved his hand, sending out a wave of light, which transformed into a gentle rain of light that fell upon Du Xiaofu's body. This rain of light contained an incomparably dense mystic energy and had an extremely strong healing effect. In an instant, Du Xiaofu felt as if he was bathing in the warm sunlight. His whole body was indescribably comfortable, and the injuries on his body were rapidly recovering. The recovery speed was 1,000 times faster than the recovery speed of the immortal Shen body. He was shocked for no reason. The master of the 3,000 great worlds, what kind of realm was his senior brother in? This was too terrifying. With just a casual movement of his hand, half of his injuries were instantly healed. However, Lu Xiaoyu didn't look at Du Xiaofu. Instead, he turned to look in Jiangchen's direction. You wanted to see me, so here I am. Lu Xiaoyu spoke softly. His gaze was calm and peaceful. He simply stood there, but he gave off an ethereal and mysterious feeling. It was as if his real body was there, but also as if he was merely a projection of an illusory figure. It was like a dream, unfathomable. Even so, his imposing manner was incomparably valiant. Even in the face of Jiangchen, who'd recovered his meditative state, Lu Xiaoyu's aura was still far more imposing than before. Master of the 3,000 great worlds, Lu Xiaoyu. Jiangchen had also recovered his previous calm. His handsome face was expressionless as he said, I didn't expect that after the ancient war, another world would be created. Apart from the one who created it, there's also a rising star like you. How astonishing! He gazed at Lu Xiaoyu. Although his expression was calm, there were ripples in his eyes. Obviously, he was amazed by Lu Xiaoyu. Did you have me appear here just to say this? Lu Xiaoyu's lips were still curved in a smile. He raised his eyebrows and looked at Jiangchen. I knew long ago that I couldn't kill Du Xiaofu. You definitely wouldn't allow me to touch him. Attacking him was just to force you to show yourself. Jiangchen took a step forward and continued, I want to see exactly what kind of enemy I'll be facing in the future. If I have the chance, I'd like to take a trip to the 3,000 great worlds. When he finished speaking, Jiangchen's gaze hardened and contained traces of murderous intent. These words were tantamount to a declaration of war against Lu Xiaoyu. If the demons wanted to go to the 3,000 great worlds, they naturally wouldn't be guests. They'd definitely lead a large number of experts there and start a bloody massacre. Heh. Lu Xiaoyu suddenly laughed coldly. I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. I don't think you'll have the chance to go to the 3,000 great worlds. Is that so? Jiangchen's pupils constricted as he countered. His entire body surged with the power of the great Tao, transforming into a complete set of universal laws. They shook violently, shaking the heavens above and the earth below. Lu Xiaoyu simply stood there, unmoving. In the face of the terrifying power, his body was like a 10,000-year-old pine tree. He stood tall and proud, allowing the storm to batter him without the slightest tremor. What a powerful cultivation! Du Xiaofu was speechless. As he watched the two silently collide, his heart was filled with indescribable shock. As a cultivator of the illusory Tao, of course he could tell how terrifying Jiangchen's aura was. If he stood there, he'd probably be instantly obliterated by the power of the great Tao and die a violent death. However, Lu Xiaoyu didn't even make a move. The boundless waves brushed past him like a gentle breeze. They didn't affect him in the slightest. Even Du Xiaofu, who stood behind him, didn't feel the slightest bit of impact. His bearing alone was enough to surpass Jiangshan's current strength. You and I will fight one day, but not now. At this moment, Lu Xiaoyu spoke again. As soon as he spoke, Jiangshan naturally retracted his aura. Then he heard the ruler of the 3,000 sectors continue, "You need time to recover to your peak strength, and I need to plan how to fight against you. Now is not the time to truly fight. But if you really want to fight, I don't mind suppressing you for an eternity." Lu Xiaoyu's words were very calm. Even when he said the last sentence, there wasn't the slightest ripple of emotion. It was as if he was talking about a trivial matter. However, when Du Xiaofu heard this, it had a different meaning. He could tell that the ruler of the 3,000 sectors was extremely powerful. At the very least, he was far stronger than Jiangshan. Otherwise, how could he suppress him? Jiangshan didn't immediately respond to Lu Xiaoyu. Instead, he looked deeply at Du Xiaofu, then said to Lu Xiaoyu, "You're just gambling. If you lose, then whether it's the 33 heavens or the 3,000 sectors, they'll all become the demon race's territory." As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly turned and waved his hand at Dongli Qihuang, Chen Yan, and a dozen or so high-level immortal experts. "Let's go!" Under Jiangshan's lead, a blood-red light soared into the sky, then quickly disappeared without a trace. Only Lu Xiaoyu and Du Xiaofu remained, along with the bloodthirsty saber, which floated in the air and emanated a murderous aura. Say, "Senior brother Lu." When he saw Jiangshan leave, Du Xiaofu walked up to Lu Xiaoyu and bowed respectfully. Regardless of whether or not Jiangshan's seniority was the same as his, Lu Xiaoyu still respected him from the depths of his heart. If it weren't for the green-robed man in front of him, Du Xiaofu wouldn't have been able to achieve what he did today. "Little guy, you've done well. You've grown very quickly these past few years." Lu Xiaoyu looked back at Du Xiaofu and smiled. "Let's leave this place first. There are some things I should tell you." He reached out and tapped lightly in the air. A speck of starlight slowly appeared. It was incomparably bright and spun continuously. The speck of starlight grew larger and larger until it finally formed a vortex that sucked him and Du Xiaofu in at the same time. "This is the starry sky from before." A moment later, Du Xiaofu appeared in another place. It was the boundless starry sky they'd entered through the black hole. Everywhere was deathly still, like a vast graveyard, completely devoid of life. "Do you know where that place was?" Lu Xiaoyu asked as he hovered in the air, leading Du Xiaofu forward. "I don't know." Du Xiaofu shook his head and said bluntly. Lu Xiaoyu was referring to the space where Jiangshan was. When Du Xiaofu arrived in this star region, he, Su Mo Yen, Qiyuan Lin, and the others had speculated that this place might have something to do with the 18 layers of hell, but they couldn't be sure. Now that Lu Xiaoyu mentioned it, he would definitely tell him the truth. "Perhaps you've also speculated about it?" Lu Xiaoyu smiled as he looked at Du Xiaofu. "That's where the first layer of the 18 layers of hell is located. The demon god escaped from there." The demon god escaped from there. Du Xiaofu finally understood. So that was the first layer of the 18 layers of hell. No wonder he'd felt a murderous aura when he'd first entered. Moreover, there weren't many powerful existences in that space. Most likely, many experts had been taken away by the demon god, such as the 5 elements demon emperor, the 9 great demon emperors, and so on. Later, during the Archean War, the masters of the 3,000 great worlds, the dragon god, and the others killed them all. The demon god was formed by a wisp of the demon ancestor's primordial spirit. He broke through the first layer of the 18 layers of hell and went to the outside world to wreak havoc. The celestial demon battlefield you went to was at the edge of the first layer of the 18 layers of hell. The demon god tore open the space there and led to the supreme Chang Rong heaven. Lu Xiaoyu continued to speak to Du Xiaofu. "Senior brother, if the demon god was formed by a wisp of the demon ancestor's primordial spirit, doesn't that mean that the demon ancestor has other primordial spirits?" Du Xiaofu didn't know much about the ancient past. Now that the masters of the 3,000 great worlds were by his side, he took advantage of this opportunity to ask, "Senior brother, can you tell me more about it?" "Don't be impatient. Listen to me slowly," Lu Xiaoyu said with a smile. Then, he tirelessly explained the ancient past. Before the heavens and earth were created, there was chaos. 3,000 celestial demons were born from the chaos. They fought each other and died. Perhaps you've heard of this before. As Lu Xiaoyu spoke, he glanced at Du Xiaofu. When he saw him nod, he continued, "In the end, there were only a few celestial demons who broke through the chaos. Pangu, who created the 33 heavens, and the demon ancestor were among them. Because of past grievances, the demon ancestor and Pangu were irreconcilable enemies. The demon ancestor wanted to subvert the 33 heavens through slaughter. It was under these circumstances that the curtains to the great war that occurred after the heavens and earth were created. I won't go into the details of this process. In fact, I've never experienced it. At that time, the 3,000 great worlds didn't exist, and I didn't exist either. However, we can all imagine how tragic it was back then. Later, almost all of the powerhouses of the 33 heavens perished. Even the strongest, Pangu, had to pay such a heavy price to suppress the demon ancestor. His primordial spirit was divided and sealed in the 18 layers of hell. His physical body was sealed in the divine martial world by Emperor Daluo's lifetime of power. This is Jiangchen's origin. He's the demon ancestor's physical body that gave birth to a new spirit and intelligence. Lu Xiaoyu paused for a moment, allowing Du Xiaofu to comprehend a few things on his own. The demon ancestor's primordial spirit was divided into 18 parts and sealed in the 18 layers of hell. His physical body was sealed in the divine martial world by Emperor Daluo. Pangu and Emperor Daluo, these two peak existences, have both perished? Du Xiaofu was indescribably shocked. Lu Xiaoyu was clearly telling him that Pangu and Emperor Daluo had long since ceased to exist. Now, however, the demon ancestor had returned once more. Now that Jiangchen had arrived in the 18 layers of hell, he'd definitely find a way to break through each layer and gather the power of his primordial spirit. Once he succeeded, he'd reach the peak of the demon ancestor's strength. Without Pangu and Emperor Daluo, who else in the world would be able to subdue the demons? Once the demons launched a bloodbath, the 33 heavens would no longer have a pure land. No one would be able to remain uninvolved. Although the situation is grave, there's no need to worry too early. The 18 layers of hell aren't that easy to break through. The demon ancestor doesn't have the strength to quickly break through Pangu's arrangements. He needs time. When he saw Du Xiaofu's worried expression, Lu Xiaoyu patted him on the shoulder. Given my strength, I could have continued to suppress him for eons, but that would have been pointless. If we can't kill the demon ancestor for good, the 33 heavens will eventually face his bloodbath. That's why we need time to arrange a few things so that we can face the final battle and put an end to everything. Is the demon ancestor immortal? Du Xiaofu looked up and asked. Lu Xiaoyu nodded. He understood. Back in the divine martial world, the demon god possessed an immortal body. Even when he'd gone all out, he hadn't been able to kill him. Only Jiangchen, who'd turned the demon ancestor's physical body into his own, had been able to do so. One could imagine that the demon ancestor himself was an existence that couldn't be killed. In ancient times, Pangu, Lord Daluo, and the others could only separate his physical body and primordial spirit. Then, they divided his primordial spirit into 18 parts and suppressed them separately. However, Du Xiaofu noticed something important. Lu Xiaoyu wanted to put an end to everything and kill the demon ancestor. That made him more alert. As if he knew what he was thinking, Lu Xiaoyu smiled and said, "Hurry up and increase your strength. Killing the demon ancestor is very difficult. You'll need to contribute greatly. If you can't grow quickly, all the arrangements we've made will be for naught." Me? Du Xiaofu was stunned. He didn't understand. His strength had indeed increased quickly, but if he wanted to kill the demon ancestor, would Du Xiaofu be able to play a decisive role? This made him feel somewhat incredulous. He couldn't understand it at all. However, the Lord of the 3,000 upper worlds didn't say much about it. Instead, he changed the topic. He pointed at the vast space of the star zone and said, this star zone wasn't originally a dead land. It was a world that could give birth to life. This isn't a dead land? Du Xiaofu's mouth was wide open. He was shocked once again. Such a vast area was actually once a world. But why had it become completely withered and desolate? It had become a land of death, like a graveyard? If you feel it carefully, it shouldn't be difficult to find that every star has a specific trajectory in its rotation. These trajectories gather a vast amount of energy and head towards an unknown place. Lu Xiaoyu glanced around and said to Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu nodded. He had already noticed this when he first arrived. Countless stars drew innumerable trajectories, as if they were drawing some kind of mysterious traces of Dharma and Logos. However, these traces were very deep and obscure, unfathomable. With his current cultivation, it was impossible for him to see through them. The 18 levels of hell rely on these powers to suppress, and the power in this star zone has been consumed over the years. It's almost gone. It won't be easy for the demon ancestor to break through here. However, if we don't plan well, the day he breaks through all 18 levels of hell will be the beginning of a new round of calamity. We're competing with the demon ancestor. Whoever can reach their goal first will have the absolute upper hand. Young Master Lu tried to persuade her, but he couldn't help but have a serious expression on his face. The sealing power of the 18 levels of hell was being greatly consumed. It was about to reach its end. That was why the demon ancestor had the confidence to break through each level. Therefore, both sides needed time to complete their plans. Is the key still me? Du Xiaofu mumbled with a heavy heart. Like I said, you don't need to worry too early. There are many things you don't need to worry about yet. There are experts who will make the necessary arrangements. What you need to do is work hard to improve yourself. Lu Xiaoyu reined in his emotions and said, I understand. Du Xiaofu nodded solemnly. He believed that if Jiangchen broke through the 18 levels of hell and merged all of his primordial spirits, his strength would surpass the meditative realm. He didn't know which of the 9 great realms he'd reach, Dao Carrier or Avatar. As a Void Dao realm cultivator, Lu Xiaoyu was far too weak. If he worried too much, he'd be possessed. Don't think too much. I'll take you somewhere. Lu Xiaoyu interrupted Du Xiaofu's train of thought. Where are we going? Du Xiaofu was puzzled. A world called Earth. Chapter 2862. As Lu Xiaoyu spoke, he gently waved his arm. A crack in the void appeared in front of the two of them, leading to an unknown place. Du Xiaofu followed closely behind and stepped in, disappearing together. When they walked out again, they found themselves in a grotesque place. This mini-world actually has living creatures? Du Xiaofu said with some surprise, his face filled with disbelief. It was not difficult for him to discover that he was still in the boundless star field from before. However, he was extremely far away from his previous position. In the surroundings, there were still countless lonely stars circling around, drawing mysterious trajectories. However, in the center of these lonely stars, there was a world, and there were many living creatures moving about in it. This is a mini-world. It is extremely inferior to the vast majority of the worlds in the 33 heavens. Lu Xiaoyu brought Du Xiaofu to this mini-world and said softly, however, this is the center of the entire star field. All the stars revolve around it. This mini-world is actually the center of the entire star field? Du Xiaofu's eyes widened. He did not know what to say. Lu Xiaoyu's words shocked him. Although this star field was a land of death without any life, the world under his feet could not be any smaller. Not to mention compared to the 33 heavens, it could not even be compared to the small worlds in the 33 heavens. Such a small world was actually the center of the entire star field? However, after thinking about it, he understood. No matter what, this was the only place of life in the entire star field. There is something special about this place. You can carefully experience it. Lu Xiaoyu did not explain much and only said this to Du Xiaofu. What is special about it? Du Xiaofu muttered and began to carefully observe this world. The life force here was extremely weak, and the spiritual energy was so thin that it made one's hair stand on end. All the living creatures here had no cultivation. The strongest were humans, but there was not a single cultivator here. However, Du Xiaofu discovered some strange things. Although the living creatures in this world could not cultivate, there were many strange and mystical things. Not too far away from where he stood, a large bird-like object flew past. Its entire body was made of metal and its speed was extremely fast, bringing with it a loud rumbling sound. And in the belly of this large bird, there were many humans sitting there, all of them very comfortable. This thing is called an airplane. Lu Xiaoyu explained in a timely manner. He smiled faintly, as if he was reminiscing about the past. Du Xiaofu nodded and looked at the ground once more. What made him feel even more incredulous was that the roads of the 33 heavens and heavens, the roads, were like dragons. Dragons, they intersecting and intersecting. The roads. On the roads, there were massive amounts of metal objects flying past like iron boxes. In the distance, with a single glance, one could see a large number of buildings standing in rows. All of this left Du Xiaofu feeling a sense of novelty. This small world really isn't simple. Mortals cannot cultivate, but it seems as if they have opened up a completely different scene. His heart shook. In such a miniature world, the strength that the living creatures grasped was extremely weak. But the situation they created was countless times more wonderful than the world of cultivation. In truth, there are even more inconceivable things here. The corners of Lu Xiaoyou's mouth were still smiling. Then he looked at Du Xiaofu and said, "However, these inconceivable things are relatively unimportant. Put aside the mortal world and carefully experience it. Try to see if you can trigger some fluctuations. Could there be other mysteries in this place?" Du Xiaofu was puzzled, but he still did as Lu Xiaoyu said. He spread out the power of his primordial spirit and permeated every corner of this world. He was meticulous. With the passage of time, he slowly closed his eyes and focused on perceiving his surroundings. As expected, after a long time, Du Xiaofu finally caught a strand of abnormal fluctuation. The result made his heart almost jump out of his chest. "I seem to sense that this world is breathing." He was so shocked that he could not be any more shocked. He could not help but widen his eyes and stare at Lu Xiaoyu. This was too unbelievable. How could a world breathe? Everyone knew that everything in the world was derived from the Great Path. As a world, it carried the power of the 4 primordial laws. However, it was not a living creature. Under the circumstances that it did not have life, how could it breathe like a living creature? This made Du Xiaofu extremely puzzled. However, just as he sensed the fluctuation of the life qi, he was unable to pry any deeper. This world seemed to have a very strong consciousness. With his current cultivation, he could not obtain any more information at all. "You're not wrong. This world is indeed breathing." Lu Xiaoyu nodded and said. The power of the breathing was extremely weak, but at their level, they could feel it if they were serious. Does this mini-world really have an independent life? Du Xiaofu became more and more puzzled, but Lu Xiaoyu did not answer his doubts. "You'll naturally know the details in the future. The reason I brought you here is to let you experience this world. When we fight the devil ancestor in the future, this might become a key place." Lu Xiaoyou's expression became more serious as he told Du Xiaofu. "A key place to fight the devil ancestor?" Du Xiaofu understood and did not ask further. He trusted his senior brother very much. There must be a reason why he did not say anything. "It's good for you to understand these things for the time being. Right now, the most important thing for you is to constantly improve yourself. We're still waiting for you to contribute to the battle in the future. Don't make me wait too long." Lu Xiaoyu looked at Du Xiaofu and said calmly. Du Xiaofu nodded heavily and then suddenly asked, "Senior brother, I have many doubts about the current virtual path realm. I wonder if senior brother can explain it to me?" It had not been long since he stepped into the virtual path realm in the Divine Demon War boundary. However, he merely knew the name of the realm he was at now, and he didn't know anything about what the so-called Void Dao realm was or which direction he should head towards. This made Du Xiaofu feel very helpless. In the 33 heavens, it seemed that no one had reached the virtual path realm since ancient times. There was no hope of finding someone to ask for advice. And now, the Lord of the 3,000 great worlds was in front of him. Du Xiaofu did not know the specific cultivation of his senior brother, but he could definitely stand among the strongest in the 33 heavens. If he asked him about these doubts, he should be able to obtain some results. Therefore, after asking the question, Du Xiaofu could not help but hope to hear a useful answer. It's just as you said. The realm you're currently at is called the Void Dao realm. Lu Xiaoyu didn't hesitate, as if he had already expected that Du Xiaofu would ask him this question. He said, "This realm can only be reached when the 33 heavens were first opened. Only those born from the heavens and earth could possibly reach this realm. At that time, the great Tao had just formed, the laws were not fixed, and order was just born. It was naturally much easier for living beings to explore the laws of heaven and earth. It's like drawing a painting. Of course, it's not easy to draw according to the sample, but if you can see every stroke, it'll be much easier if you draw it yourself." Du Xiaofu had heard this principle from Su Mo Yen and the others. In the process of the laws of heaven and earth being born, it was naturally easier to pry into the mysterious trajectory than now that the laws were formed and the greater world was stabilized. The foundation of the virtual path realm is to grasp the 4 great primitive laws at the same time, and you have done it. Lu Xiaoyu glanced at Du Xiaofu with a glowing expression, looking very satisfied. And the reason why it is called the Void Dao is because in this realm, under the fusion and interweaving of the 4 great primordial laws, it can naturally evolve into Dao runes. This Dao rhythm does not contain the great Dao origin, so it is called the virtual path realm. I see. Du Xiaofu nodded. Only now did he truly know the origin of the name virtual path. He thought for a while and said, "Actually, it is all thanks to the Void 8 trigrams that senior brother taught me. Otherwise, it would be very difficult for me to integrate the 4 great primitive laws." These words were very serious, expressing his most sincere gratitude to this senior brother. With the help of the Void 8 trigrams, Du Xiaofu really began to try to integrate the 4 great primitive laws. Otherwise, who knew how many detours he would have taken? Haha, Lu Xiaoyu suddenly laughed, shook his head and said, "The world's laws are nothing more than Tai Chi, Yin-Yang, 4 symbols, 8 trigrams. According to this logic, with your talent, it is not difficult to find the way to integrate the 4 great primitive laws. However, it just so happens that the Void 8 trigrams allowed you to take a shortcut, so you don't need to go out of your way to comprehend it. Even without this method, I believe that you can find other paths on your own." Du Xiaofu touched his nose and did not say anything. He only took it that his senior brother was praising him. If you want to know the specifics of the virtual path realm, I can indeed tell you. Lu Xiaoyu opened his mouth and then said, "There is no specific division of small realms in the virtual path realm. This is different from other cultivation realms. However, it can be roughly divided into 3 processes, namely, condensing and tracing the Tao, transforming into the Tao, and carrying the Tao with one's body. Condensing and tracing the Tao is to use the power of the 4 great primitive laws to trace back to the origin of the laws and produce the Tao rhythm, which is the level you are currently at. Transforming into the Tao, the origin of the laws is complete, and the Tao rhythm is formed naturally. Tracing back to the origin of the great Tao is similar to the cultivation of the meditative path realm. Carrying the Tao with one's body is to break through the virtual path realm, break through the shackles of the great 1,000 worlds, and achieve the Tao-carrying body. At that time, it will be a brand new world, and you can truly create the great 1,000 worlds. Condensing and tracing the Tao, transforming into the Tao, and carrying the Tao with one's body. Du Xiaofu muttered these words, savoring them carefully. With Lu Xiaoyu's explanation, it was not difficult for him to understand these 3 processes. Even if he followed the literal meaning, he could still think about it. Condensing and tracing the Tao, condensing and tracing the Tao, he condensed the 4 great primitive laws and made them one, naturally giving birth to the origin of the laws, and at the same time producing the Tao rhythm. It was precisely this principle. Transforming into the Tao was to grasp the complete origin of the laws. At that time, the Tao rhythm would be complete, and he would need to seek a transformation to transform the Tao rhythm into the origin of the great Tao, which was the same as the pursuit of the meditative path realm cultivators. Carrying the Tao with one's body was a little vague, and Du Xiaofu could not understand it, because that was already the Tao-carrying realm. Of the 9 great realms of the 33 heavens, the Tao-carrying realm and the formless realm only existed in legends, and were far from what the current Du Xiaofu could touch. However, he was very curious about these 2 realms, and could not help but ask. Lu Xiaoyu did not hide it and said directly, living beings are born between heaven and earth, and they are also derived from the great Tao. However, if you want to trace back to the supreme great Tao, not only do you have to grasp the origin of the great Tao, you also have to transform your body into the Tao. However, the great Tao does not tolerate blasphemy. At the same time that all living beings have spirits, they will also be supported by extremely strong shackles by the great Tao. Only by breaking free of these shackles and achieving one's own Tao would one be able to achieve the Tao-carrying realm. So that's how it is. Du Xiaofu frowned lightly as he pondered carefully. The Tao-carrying realm was extremely profound. Not only did one have to carry the Tao with one's body, one also had to refine one's own Tao and achieve the Tao-carrying realm. One could imagine that when one attained such a level, one could be considered the strongest living being in the world, and every move one made would contain a terrifying Tao that could suppress and flatten everything. Then what about the formless realm? Du Xiaofu puckered his lips and asked once more. The formless realm. When he spoke of this realm, Lu Xiaoyu's gaze became slightly erratic, and he seemed to be slightly lost in thought as he said, according to the literal meaning, it is formless and formless, as if one is not a person of the world, truly free from all the shackles of the great Tao of heaven and earth, and no matter which world one walks in, one would not be disturbed or affected by the great Tao. At the same time, one can carry out the act of splitting the world apart in the formless realm, and become the ruler of the vast world, an existence like Pangu. The great god Pangu is the formless realm. Du Xiaofu nodded. This saying was extremely reasonable. As the great god Pangu that was born from chaos, and later split the world apart, only then did the existence of the 33 heavens exist. His realm was the highest level among the 9 great realms, so it was naturally reasonable and reasonable. Formless and formless, as if one is not a person of the world. Free from all the shackles of the great Tao of heaven and earth, how delightful and unrestrained is that? Du Xiaofu muttered to himself, and he started to yearn greatly. Wasn't the goal of the people of the world to cultivate to obtain formidable strength? If one was able to break free from all shackles, even the great Tao of heaven and earth would be unable to do anything to one. This was a true figure at the apex. At the same time, the formless realm could even split the world apart, and achieve a world that completely belonged to oneself. This kind of action would make countless people envious. The gap between the carrier realm and the formless realm is like a natural chasm, but in reality, it's only a single step away. Lu Xiaofu spoke once more, but when he spoke these words, there was an indescribable feeling of sigh. That single step is capable of trapping one for eternity, and it's difficult to find the opportunity to break through. Du Xiaofu couldn't help but nod when he heard this. In fact, when living beings cultivated, the breakthrough of every realm was like a game, a struggle with the world, the great Tao, the laws, and so on and so forth. Not to mention the final manifestation realm. Even if it was only a step away from the Tao-bearer realm, it was absolutely impossible to easily traverse it. That tiny step was like a shapeless barrier that lay across there, and it was even vaster than a natural chasm. I wonder what realm senior brother is at now? Du Xiaofu suddenly raised his brows and asked Lu Xiaofu. Could it be the formless realm? According to some guesses he made, the cultivation of this senior brother of his was surely extremely terrifying. Not to mention anything else. Merely his identity as the master of the 3,000 worlds was absolutely not weak. It was precisely because of this that Du Xiaofu guessed that the 3,000 worlds were established by Lu Xiaofu. I know what you're thinking, but you're thinking a bit too much. Lu Xiaofu suddenly laughed bitterly, and then he glanced at Du Xiaofu and said, I obtained an enormous benefit by chance, and that's how I became the master of the 3,000 worlds. This identity represents that I'm the strongest living being in the 3,000 worlds, but that vast world wasn't established by me. Up until now, only the few fiend gods that broke through the chaos are capable of possessing a true formless realm expert. Du Xiaofu came to an understanding when he heard such an explanation. It turned out that he was really thinking too much. He thought that this senior brother of his was so awesome that he had already reached the peak, achieved the formless body, and established a vast world. Yes, Master Yu Yuqian, Chu Daoju, and the Cloudy Sun sect were all born in the 3,000 worlds, and they were born many years earlier than senior brother Lu. The 3,000 worlds were naturally born earlier. From a chronological point of view, his conjecture was completely illogical. Du Xiaofu rubbed his nose. It seemed that no matter if it was the 33 heavens or the 3,000 boundless worlds, after the creation of the heavens and earth, no one had reached the imageless realm. Only the gods and devils that walked out of the primal chaos had such great power. It was no wonder that when the demon ancestor wreaked havoc in the 33 heavens, only Pangu, Heavenly Lord Daluo, and the others could truly compete with him. It was just that he didn't know if Heavenly Lord Daluo was a creature of the chaos. If he was, why couldn't he leave behind a vast world? No matter what, senior brother should at least be an expert at the third stage of meditative oblivion, looking through reincarnation, right? Du Xiaofu blinked his eyes and looked at Lu Xiaoyu as he spoke. He felt that this speculation was more reasonable. To be able to become the strongest person in the 3,000 worlds, perhaps he was at the peak of the third stage of meditative oblivion, looking through reincarnation. Take a guess. Lu Xiaoyu suddenly laughed and winked at Du Xiaofu, keeping him in suspense. Du Xiaofu felt suffocated and was speechless. He didn't ask further on this question. Instead, his face turned serious as he said to Lu Xiao, "Senior brother, I'm afraid I need your help with something." "Junior brother, feel free to speak your mind." Lu Xiaoyu looked at him and said straightforwardly. Chapter 2863. When I left the divine martial world for the 33 heavens, there were 7 people with me. However, I was separated from the others because of the combined forces of the school of legalism, the school of famers, and the school of vertical and horizontal. Even now, little Xingxing and little Yao's whereabouts are still unknown. Du Xiaofu looked at Lu Xiaoyu with a grave expression. "Senior brother, do you have a way to find them?" He was extremely worried. Several hundred years had passed, but there had been no news of little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao. The Yu Qing Divine Kingdom had sent people to search for them, but there had been no progress. They didn't even know if they were dead or alive. At this moment, Du Xiaofu asked Lu Xiaoyu this question mainly because of little Xingxing. She was the daughter of the dragon god, and the dragon god had a close relationship with the master of the 3,000 worlds. If he took action, it might be of greater use. In reality, the disappearance of little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao had already become a sore point for Du Xiaofu. He often thought about it and found it difficult to calm down. "So that's what you wanted to talk about?" Lu Xiaoyu smiled gently and looked at Du Xiaofu. "Actually, even if you didn't ask, I was going to tell you." His expression was very calm, without the slightest hint of worry. It was as if he had always been very confident. "Senior brother, do you know where they are?" Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows and asked nervously. At the same time, he stared at the master of the 3,000 sectors in front of him. He wanted to hear an affirmative answer. "Ha!" Lu Xiaoyu laughed again and said to Du Xiaofu, "How could I not pay attention when little Long's daughter came to the 33 heavens?" He smiled meaningfully and looked at Du Xiaofu's anxious expression. He seemed to want to amuse him. "Where are they?" Du Xiaofu was helpless when faced with Lu Xiaoyou's gaze. He could only step forward and ask urgently. He was very clear about the relationship between his senior brother and little Xingxing. After hearing what he said, he actually felt a lot more at ease. However, he was still eager to know the whereabouts of little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao. Du Xiaofu hadn't seen them for many years, and he didn't know how they were doing now, whether they had made any progress in their cultivation, or whether they had encountered any difficulties. All of these had been on Du Xiaofu's mind all year round. "Don't worry, they are fine right now. They all had great opportunities. Lu Xiaoyu stopped joking with Du Xiaofu. He walked up to him and patted Du Xiaofu's shoulder. Phew, Du Xiaofu finally let out a long sigh of relief. Hearing that the two of them were safe, he could finally put down the burden in his heart. A smile finally appeared on his face, but his eyes were still fixed on Lu Xiaoyu. It turned out that not only were little Xingxing and little Yao's lives not in danger, they had actually obtained a huge opportunity. Presumably, after so many years, the strength of those two must have advanced by leaps and bounds. Du Xiaofu was looking forward to it. He didn't know what kind of realm they had reached today. Little Xingxing and your brother Du Xiaoyao are currently in Yinqiong Wu Tian. It's about time for them to come out of seclusion. If you want to see them as soon as possible, I can send you there directly. Lu Xiaoyu said to Du Xiaofu indifferently. Of course I want to see them. The sooner the better. Du Xiaofu nodded affirmatively and immediately said. Those two were his closest relatives. After not seeing them for so many years, Du Xiaofu also missed them very much. Perhaps now, little Xingxing had already grown up and was no longer as childish as before. In addition, he didn't know if Du Xiaoyao was still the same as before and if she had restrained her naturally restless personality. All right, I'll send you there. It just so happens that they will face some trouble after they come out of seclusion. When the time comes, you can also help them. It will save me and Little Dragon a trip. Lu Xiaoyu readily agreed and said. Du Xiaofu was exceptionally happy. If senior brother could send him there, it would save him a lot of effort. It had been too many years since he had seen little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao. Thinking that he would be able to see them soon, Du Xiaofu couldn't help but look forward to it. With that, Du Xiaofu didn't ask any more questions. Instead, he left the small world with Lu Xiaoyu and went deep into the star domain. He let Su Mo Yen, Qi Yuanlin, Lian Ken, Xiao Yun and the others out of the ancient barren space. After some discussion, they found out what had happened after Du Xiaofu had kept them in the ancient barren space. Du Xiaofu also introduced Lu Xiaoyu. However, he only said that Lu Xiaoyu was his senior brother and didn't say anything else. Everyone, I have important matters to attend to in the outside world. I won't be returning to the celestial demon battlefield. I have many disciples from Yuqing Holy Kingdom. Please take care of them. Du Xiaofu cupped his fists and said solemnly to the holy sons and holy daughters of the various holy lands. He couldn't wait to see little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao. He didn't want to return to the celestial demon battlefield. Furthermore, after going through the battle with the demon clan, he felt more at ease to entrust Yu Qingyan, Yu Qingyao, He Zhibai, Fan Yushu and the other disciples of the Holy Kingdom to them. This matter is naturally not a problem. We will definitely take good care of them for you. Xiao Yun frowned slightly and asked, however, Brother Du, if you don't return to the celestial demon battlefield, how will you go to the outside world? He didn't understand. Everyone had come from the supreme Changrong sky. They could only go to the outside world if they returned to the celestial demon battlefield. If Du Xiaofu didn't return, how was he going to do anything? Also, after we entered the gate of hell, we entered this star domain. We can't even find the way back. Su Mo Yen said with a wry smile. The blood-red light in the depths of the celestial demon battlefield had already disappeared. They couldn't find the way back. If they couldn't return to the celestial demon battlefield, they wouldn't be able to help Du Xiaofu no matter how much they wanted to. It's all right, my senior brother Lu will bring me there. He will also open a path and send you all back to the celestial demon battlefield. Du Xiaofu said and dispelled everyone's doubts. With the help of the master of the 3,000 great cosmos, Lu Xiaoyu, these problems would naturally be solved. It would be difficult to trap him anywhere in the 33 heavens. Yuqing Emperor's senior brother, Du Xiaofu's words surprised the holy sons and holy daughters of the various holy lands. At this moment, everyone had the same thought in their hearts. The senior brother Lu, that Du Xiaofu spoke of was definitely a terrifying person. However, no one asked further. Everyone present was an outstanding talent and their minds were incomparably flexible. If Du Xiaofu was willing to tell them, he would definitely tell them directly. If they rashly questioned him, it would be a little too impolite. Furthermore, there shouldn't be any more powerful demon tribes appearing in the celestial demon battlefield. You all can rest assured and train. Some of the forgotten experts of the transcendent Changrong heaven have already been alerted. They will be constantly monitoring the movements in the celestial demon battlefield. Du Xiaofu then added and said to everyone. He had heard this from his senior brother. It was very important and could not be faked. However, when the young experts heard these words, they were even more shocked. Du Xiaofu only came from a small holy kingdom. Even the disciples of the powerful Holy Lands did not know that their patriarchs had been alerted. How did he know? All right, I will send you all back to the celestial demon battlefield. Lu Xiaoyu said at the right time and did not say anything else. He stretched out his hand and pointed at the void. A space path was formed that was suffused with a pitch-black light and led to an unknown place. Su Mo Yen, Qi Yuanlin, Lian Kaiyun, Xiao Yun and the others did not delay and entered in a single file. The moment before the space path was sealed, Xiao Yun transmitted his voice into Du Xiaofu's ears. Brother Du, your senior brother should be very powerful. When Du Xiaofu heard this, a smile appeared on his face. Senior brother Lu was the ruler of the 3,000 great worlds. With his saber, he was able to force the forgotten ancestor of the Taisher demon dragon tribe to retreat. How could such a person not be powerful? At the same time, Du Xiaofu thought of many other things. When he first arrived at the 33 heavens, he met Elder Kong in the chaotic space. When he heard Elder Kong mention his master, Yu Yuqian, his words were filled with envy and jealousy. In Elder Kong's eyes, Old Man Yu was a complete nouveau riche who had countless treasures in his hands. His talent was extremely poor, but he relied on sky treasures to push his cultivation to the immortal realm. Now that he thought about it, all of this could be explained. Old Man Yu was the master of the 3,000 great worlds. How could he lack any cultivation resources? Moreover, Du Xiaofu could imagine that the bottle of Azure Dragon blood essence that his master Yu Yuqian had given him must be extremely pure. The Azure spirit armor refined from it would be extremely powerful. It would be no different from a real Azure Dragon. Perhaps that blood essence was obtained from Little Xingxing's father, the Dragon God. Little Xingxing, Little Yao, I'm coming. Wait for me. Du Xiaofu watched the holy sons and holy daughters of the various holy lands leave. Then, he asked senior brother Lu Xiaoyu to send him to the Yin Qiong flawless sky to look for Little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao. Of course, before that, he also asked some questions about the situation of the other world. Swoosh, a void passage was opened, directly connecting this desolate star field to another world. Du Xiaofu shuttled through it at high speed and soon entered a different space. With senior brother's help, he naturally arrived in an instant. It was much faster than using a wormhole to travel. Du Xiaofu had seen Xue Sha perform this kind of skill once when he was surrounded by countless beasts in the Qian Su Jinghua heaven. Therefore, he was no longer as shocked as he was at that time. Yin Qiong flawless sky. Du Xiaofu's eyes glowed as he began to size up everything around him. He knew that the place he was in was one of the great worlds of the 33 heavens, the Yin Qiong flawless sky. The living beings in it were powerful and were not inferior to the supreme Changrong heaven. Chapter 2864. When Du Xiaofu entered the Yin Qiong boundless heaven, Lu Xiaoyu, the lord of the 3,000 great worlds, stood tall. With a swoosh, a golden light suddenly bloomed in the void beside Lu Xiaoyu. Then, a man in a golden robe walked out from it and came to Lu Xiaoyu's side, standing side by side with him. The golden-robed young man was handsome and had a natural charm to him. He had a strange smile on his face. Xiaolong, you're here. Lu Xiaoyu turned to look at the newcomer and smiled faintly. Boss, that brat Du Xiaofu left? Xiaolong looked at the man in green and asked with raised eyebrows. He left. Lu Xiaoyu nodded and said, This kid is not bad. He's loyal and affectionate. I sent him to the Yin Qiong boundless heaven to find your daughter and that little brother of his. I haven't really met that child, Little Xingxing. Do you think I should make a trip there and bring her back? Xiaolong suddenly sighed softly and a guilty look appeared on his face. He smiled bitterly and said, Chenxi has been causing more and more trouble these years. She trusts her daughter too much. I can't take it anymore. You can go and meet her. After all, you've been separated for so many years. Bring Chenxi along. Lu Xiaoyu nodded again and continued, but you don't have to rush. Little Xingxing is in some trouble now. Although it's a small problem for us, it's not easy for them to solve. The reason I sent my junior brother over is to let him gain more experience. Perhaps there really isn't much time left. As he spoke, a trace of worry appeared between his brows. He was not as calm as he usually was. I understand. Xiaolong opened his mouth and continued, this matter is indeed quite troublesome for them. Even if that brat Du Xiaofu comes out personally, he definitely won't be able to solve it. I'll make arrangements first, there can't be any accidents. Lu Xiaoyu did not say anything else and only nodded silently in agreement. Boss, are we really not going to take action to suppress the evil ancestor first? If we allow him to do as he pleases, it won't be good if he overreaches himself. Xiaolong suddenly raised his eyes, looked at Lu Xiaoyu with a burning gaze, and said, if we suppress it now, even if it will resurrect many years later, we can buy a lot of time for Du Xiaofu to grow up. At that time, it will be easier to deal with the demon race. I've thought about that as well, but there's no difference in doing that, is there? Lu Xiaoyu glanced at Xiaolong and said, my junior brother wants to grow quickly, so I need to give him some pressure. This is not a bad thing. The more we push him, the more unexpected things he might have to worry about. That's right, the strong grow up under cruel tempering. The devil race is extremely terrifying, but to that brat, it is indeed an opportunity to temper himself. Xiaolong nodded his head and said, the fiend ancestor has already broken through the second level of hell and fused with the power of a second primordial spirit. Right now, he's breaking through the third level of hell. Once he breaks through half of the 18 levels of hell, he will recover at least 30% of his strength from the ancient times. At that time, he will be very difficult to deal with. I hope that brat Du Xiaofu can reach new heights soon. Lu Xiaoyu's eyes moved slightly as he muttered. I think he can do it. After all these years, he has never disappointed us. During the great calamity of the devil religion in Shenwu world, he even managed to kill the devil god. This time, that brat might bring us a pleasant surprise. Xiaolong's lips curled into a smile again as he said, that's right. He even fused with the world origin of Shenwu world. If such a person cannot grow, then it doesn't make sense at all. Lu Xiaoyu also smiled and said so. That world is becoming more and more amazing. Before I came here, I even went to check it out. At this time, in terms of scale, it has already expanded by thousands of times. The spiritual energy is dense, and the suppressive force is getting weaker and weaker. All of this is about to catch up with the 33 heavens. Xiaolong suddenly felt a little emotional and praised. Moreover, in that desolate country, there are already several people who are beginning to break through to the true severing realm. This kind of change is really inconceivable. That Shenwu world is similar to our Lingwu world. It's just that in the ancient times, that world has experienced more calamities and tribulations. A huge world has finally become a small world. Heavenly Lord Daluo's methods have been left behind since ancient times and are still effective even now. Lu Xiaoyu nodded and said in agreement. Isn't that so? When we chased the devil god there, we were suppressed to such a state. From this, it can be seen how fierce Heavenly Lord Daluo was back then. Xiaolong still had a look of shock as he smacked his lips and said, what a pity, such a terrifying expert fell. Too many experts fell in the ancient demonic war. It wasn't just Heavenly Lord Daluo alone. Even a peerless existence like the great god Pangu couldn't really kill the devil ancestor. Lu Xiaoyu's expression became a little more serious. Then, he suddenly retracted his gaze and looked into the distance as if he was looking through the void and arrived at a small world in this star field. That was the place he had brought Du Xiaofu to previously, a world called Earth. Lu Xiaoyu turned to look at Xiaolong and said, let's not talk about this first. Since we're here, let's go there and take a look. I haven't been there for many years, so I still miss it. Lu Xiaoyu couldn't help but have a look of nostalgia in his eyes as he spoke. That's boss's hometown. I'll accompany boss to take a look. Xiaolong said leisurely, we can also go and pay our respects to the great god Pangu. After all, he was the first person to walk out of the chaos. Lu Xiaoyu listened to these words and nodded silently. Although he had never seen the great god Pangu with his own eyes and had never experienced the terrifying demonic war in ancient times, just hearing about the many deeds of the past was enough to make people feel a strong sense of reverence. Now, the devil ancestor had made a comeback and intended to plunge the world into a bloodbath again, sweeping up the sky with the smell of blood. Pangu was no longer around, so the heavy responsibility of fighting against the devil race was naturally shouldered by the younger generation. Of course, he could suppress the devil ancestor before he recovered, again and again, and the cycle would continue forever. However, this was not enough to completely kill him. However, this world was filled with many variables. If the devil ancestor escaped his control one day, then the situation would be unsalvageable. After all, characters like the great god Pangu and heavenly lord Daluo could not be resurrected to fight again. At the same time, the energy of the 18 layers of hell would be exhausted to the extreme. It would be difficult for anyone in this world to set up such a vast array to suppress the devil ancestor again and again. What followed was the deaths of even more living beings and even more top-notch experts due to the devil race. Therefore, now it was necessary to coordinate the layout and plan in order to get rid of the devil ancestor once and for all. Let's go! Lu Xiaoyu withdrew his gaze, glanced at the golden-robed man beside him, and said aloud. Immediately, the two did not hesitate any longer. The two figures gradually faded from the void, leaving behind only the stars that revolved in the sky, drawing mysterious trajectories. On the other side, after Du Xiaofu entered the Inxiong boundless heaven, he made some inquiries and hurried toward his destination. The place he wanted to go was a place called the Burial Sky Mountain. As for little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao, both of them had quite a great opportunity in this place. However, Lu Xiaoyu had never told him what kind of opportunity it was. However, Du Xiaofu had some understanding of the situation in this world. Back then, after little Xingxing, Du Xiaoyao, Ouyang Shuang, and the other three little guys were separated from him, they were besieged by the legalism, the school of famous people, and the school of vertical and horizontal. They had no choice but to split up again, allowing Ouyang Shuang to escape with Du Xiaoba, Du Xiaohuang, and Du Xiaolin. They wandered outside for a long time, and finally fell into the Qian Su Jinghua heaven, where they were besieged by many beasts. Little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao, on the other hand, risked their lives and were seriously injured. They were chased into a terrifying void storm by the people of the three great families, and only then did they escape. Lu Xiaoyu had told Du Xiaofu that in fact, when he was in the divine martial world, Du Xiaofu had been paying attention to him, and it was even more impossible to hide from him when he left that world and came to the 33 heavens. The reason why he did not make a move was because he wanted to let them experience more trials. The void storm that little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao experienced was created by him, and the purpose was to let them enter the Inxiong boundless heaven to seek opportunities. It could be said that everything was under his control. All the hardships that little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao experienced were only for training and would not endanger their lives. However, in the Inxiong boundless heaven, there are people who want to take advantage of little Xingxing and little Yao. Du Xiaofu's eyes flickered, and a wisp of ferocious aura was brewing. He raised his head and looked ahead. There was a continuous mountain range there, winding and undulating. Looking from the sky, it looked like a large bird lying on the ground. The entire mountain range was fluctuating with a fierce aura, and a blazing aura was emitted. Moreover, at this moment, patches of resplendent light rushed into the sky, and the fiery light was bright red. Before they really got close, Du Xiaofu could already feel the heat, and it was difficult to resist. This fluctuation was unusual and had already lasted for several years. It was as if a rare treasure had appeared, or some kind of great benefit had appeared, and it made people's hearts yearn for it. It was also because of this that such a disturbance had attracted many experts of this world, and they had been spying on it all this time. However, they were intimidated by that terrifying energy, and even the immortal realm experts did not dare to approach it directly, and could only observe from the outside. One could imagine that if this fluctuation calmed down one day, these people would rush in without hesitation to seek opportunities. Chapter 2865. There really are a lot of people here. Du Xiaofu looked around and saw that a large number of experts had appeared in the periphery of Burial Sky Mountain. There were humans, beasts, and demons, and they filled the sky. Moreover, the cultivation of those who came here was very strong. Most of them were in the immortal realm. Although there were many existences below the truth-severing realm, they could only watch from the sidelines. They didn't have the strength to enter the competition later. Du Xiaofu had done some research before coming here, so he knew a little about Burial Sky Mountain. This was a forbidden area that had existed since ancient times. No one, including people from Inxiong Wujio Heaven and the other 33 heavens, had set foot in it since ancient times. It was rumored that this forbidden area had something to do with the War of the Demons during the time of eternity. A great figure was buried in this mountain range, thus forming a strange area that contained endless dangers. Not to mention the ordinary powerhouses, even those in the meditative realm would not dare to rashly enter this place. For many years, there was no lack of daring people who tried to enter Burial Sky Mountain in search of opportunities and benefits. However, without exception, no one came out alive. The fate of these people could be imagined. However, a few years ago, this area began to undergo a special change. Waves of fierce fluctuations spread out from it, vast and mighty in the void, attracting the attention of countless experts in this world. I'm afraid that an ancient item will appear. This was everyone's guess. Everyone could imagine that a fierce land left behind from ancient times suddenly had a huge movement. It was definitely extraordinary. Recently, the commotion had become increasingly great. Countless experts had gathered here, and it was precisely because of this that Du Xiaofu felt quite a bit of seriousness. After all, he was alone here, so it might not be so easy for him to take little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao away. However, Du Xiaofu wasn't particularly anxious. After all, everything was arranged by senior brother Lu Xiaoyu. He should have thought of this situation and definitely had a backup plan. Let's wait first. It won't be long. Du Xiaofu landed in the void, found a place, and sat down cross-legged. He closed his eyes slightly and entered a shallow cultivation state. He planned to wait here for little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao. After not seeing them for hundreds of years, he missed them very much. Under such circumstances, time passed by slowly, and a month quickly passed. Du Xiaofu didn't ask about the things in the outside world and only waited quietly. During this period of time, more and more experts had rushed over to the vicinity of Burial Mountain, and all of them gazed with burning gazes at the gorgeous scene on the mountain range. Look, there's movement again. On this day, an expert was suddenly shocked. He pointed, and the mountain range. The mountain. Under everyone's eyes, thousands of rays rushed out of the mountain range, the sky, and filled the void. Calm, rumble. All of a sudden, the entire mountain range began to tremble violently. It trembled incessantly, and an earth-shaking rumble erupted, causing the ears of many experts to become muddled. Coo, a sound that was like the cry of a phoenix swept out, and it carried an extremely terrifying pressure. It brazenly pressed down on the soul spirits of all living beings, causing their bodies to shake violently and almost fall down. This terrifying movement instantly caused Du Xiaofu to be jolted awake. Even with his cultivation, he felt it was difficult to breathe. Du Xiaofu stood up and shot his gaze towards the mountain range. Under his gaze, the boundless rays of light shot into the sky, and they formed numerous strange and shapeless markings and trajectories. These markings were extremely domineering, and they were densely condensed together. Just a glance at them caused Du Xiaofu to feel a slight piercing pain in his eyes. The markings of the Grand Tao. So many markings of the Grand Tao. Du Xiaofu was extremely shocked, and his heart beat several times faster. It was not that he had never seen markings of the Grand Tao before. Whether it was the Grand Beginning Demonic Dragon Clan's demonic dragon ancestor, Jiangchen, or his senior brother Lu Xiaoyu whose cultivation was unknown, Their every movement carried the charm of the Grand Tao. Naturally, there would be markings of the Grand Tao emitted from them. However, when these experts made their moves, they all had perfect control. They would not be like this, where the vast and mighty power of the Grand Tao filled the sky and rushed out without any restraint. This scene was too terrifying. It made people feel terrified, and their hearts beat rapidly. Is there really an unparalleled expert buried below? Du Xiaofu was puzzled. Facing the scene in front of him, he was bewildered. Those terrifying markings of the Grand Tao were definitely not something that could appear under normal circumstances. And if a terrifying great figure was really buried here in ancient times, and there was still energy left behind, then such a scene might occur. In addition, the markings of the Grand Tao were dancing in the sky. Obviously, no one had restrained them. This also proved the authenticity of this legend to some extent. The burial space mountain that has been silent for thousands of years is finally going to appear today. Around Du Xiaofu, many experts began to get excited. Some couldn't restrain their excitement, shouting loudly. There's definitely something good. This time we've struck gold. Some people also arrived. They couldn't help but rub their hands together, their faces full of excitement. However, while they were excited, no one was blinded by the great opportunity that might exist. They didn't rush into the mountain range directly. It should be known that many people who came here were experts. Naturally, they could see the terrifying markings of the Grand Tao like Du Xiaofu. Under such a ferocious scene, whoever rushed in rashly would be courting death. The markings of the Grand Tao that covered the entire sky were enough to kill an existence at the ninth sky of Immortal Realm in a flash. Even a meditative realm expert would have to retreat and not dare to step in here. Little Star, Little Yao, are you guys about to get out? Du Xiaofu's eyes sparkled as he gazed at the scene in the burial space mountain with anticipation. According to his senior, the two of them had encountered a great opportunity in this place. He didn't know what their cultivation bases would be after they got out. Time quickly flowed by. The sky was filled with endless multicolored light. It was magnificent and filled with thousands of streaks of auspicious light. However, behind such a gorgeous scene, there was a hidden danger. Oh, someone's coming out. All of a sudden, an expert shouted. In fact, there was no need for him to remind them. Everyone's gazes turned in unison. Under everyone's gazes, two figures appeared in the thousands of rays of light. They were set off by the rays of light to appear as if gods had descended, overbearing and dignified. Little Yao, Little Star. Du Xiaofu was overjoyed. He couldn't help but take a step forward. How could he not recognize those two? Besides Little Star and Du Xiaoyao, who else could they be? At this moment, the two of them were emitting some special energy that covered their bodies. Thus, the markings of the Grand Tao in the sky couldn't hurt them. However, as time went by, the energy was draining fast. The two of them flew out of the burial space mountain quickly. Dad! Bus. When Du Xiaofu saw Du Xiaoyao and Little Xingxing, the two of them quickly saw the purple-robed young man. After shouting in joy at the same time, they directly rushed to Du Xiaofu's side. Little Star, Little Yao. Du Xiaofu hurried forward, giving Du Xiaoyao a big hug. He was so excited. After the two of them let go, Du Xiaofu stretched out his hand again and rubbed Little Xingxing's head. Little Star, you've grown so tall. His eyes were fixed on Little Star. In front of him was a tall girl who looked to be about 17 or 18 years old. She emitted a youthful and charming aura. She had a delicate little face that was indescribably cute. The mark between her eyebrows had also become more beautiful than before. Du Xiaofu was full of praise. They hadn't seen each other for many years. At this moment, Little Star had become slender and elegant. She had changed a lot. Little Star has finally grown up. Du Xiaofu had an indescribable feeling in his heart. He only felt that he owed Little Star too much. If it wasn't for his lack of strength, she wouldn't have wandered outside for so many years. He couldn't even participate in her growth. It had to be said that this was a great regret. As her father, Du Xiaofu felt deeply ashamed. As these thoughts arose, Du Xiaofu's hand that was rubbing Little Star's head became gentler. Dad, you've messed up my hair. However, little Star was annoyed. She wrinkled her jade-like nose. She swung her hand and pushed away Du Xiaofu's devil hand. Her big eyes glared at him with malicious intent as she snorted discontentedly. Ha! Du Xiaofu smiled and retracted his hand. If it were in the past, he would have stared back and scolded this little girl. However, as they met again after a long time, he restrained his thoughts and started to observe the two of them. Not only did Little Star have a huge change, even Little Demon Du's body was swept away. This woman's aura was as deep as the abyss and as vast as the sea. She had reached the first sky of Immortal Realm, which shocked Du Xiaofu deeply. Such a frightening improvement was truly unimaginable. When they had left the Divine Martial World that year, Du Xiaoyao was only at the half-step to seizing God Realm. It had only been a few years and she had reached such a realm. If the other people in the 33 heavens knew about this, wouldn't they go crazy? However, even though Du Xiaoyao's aura had undergone a great change, becoming extremely vast and boundless, and had risen in an extremely terrifying manner, his body still emitted an aura that could not be suppressed. This caused Du Xiaofu to be unable to restrain his laughter. Second sky of Immortal Realm? And the speed of Little Star's advancement made Du Xiaofu feel even more frightened, and he could not help but open his mouth in surprise. He observed carefully one more time. She was at the second sky of Immortal Realm. She was even more monstrous than Du Xiaoyao. However, what truly horrified Du Xiaofu was not just their cultivation, but the laws that the two of them grasped. At this moment, Du Xiaoyao had broken through to the Immortal Realm at the same time with the Space Principle and the Soul Principle. And Little Star was even more intimidating. She had broken through to the Immortal Realm at the same time with the Space Principle, the Matter Principle, and the Soul Principle. Du Xiaofu couldn't help but sigh. Didn't they say that cultivating many primitive principles at the same time was very difficult and rare in the entire 33 heavens? But why did two of them appear at the same time? Including himself, there were already 3 people who came from Shenwu world. If this news spread out, wouldn't it shake the entire 33 heavens? Ha! Looking at Du Xiaofu's frightened eyes, Du Xiaoyao and Little Star exchanged looks. They couldn't help but laugh. Boss, shouldn't you give your seat to me? Du Xiaoyao's eyes cast a sidelong glance at Du Xiaofu, putting on an arrogant appearance as he said, "We agreed back then, whoever's strength is stronger, whoever will sit in the boss's seat. Now, I'm at the first sky of Immortal Realm. It's my turn to be your boss." While talking, he slowly crossed his arms, looking very proud. Little Star stood next to the two of them. He didn't say anything, but the corners of his mouth curled up strangely as if he was watching a good show. "But if you can defeat me, the position of the boss will be yours." Du Xiaofu's heroic spirit was boundless. He agreed readily. However, he changed the topic shortly. "But we won't compete today. We'll talk about it when we get back." He was also chuckling, harboring malicious intentions. In his heart, he was thinking about how to deal with Little Demon Du after he returned. "You want the boss seat? But no way. I'm at the Ethereal Path Realm. I can even defeat a 5th sky of Immortal Realm expert. You're just at the first sky of Immortal Realm, yet you want to compete with me? Dad, your realm." Looking at Du Xiaofu's face, Little Star asked with uncertainty. She couldn't see through him. Du Xiaoyao also shrank his neck. He knew Du Xiaofu too well. If he wasn't sure, he wouldn't agree that easily. However, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't see through Du Xiaofu's cultivation base. It made Du Xiaoyao more vigilant. "We'll talk about the old days when we get back." Du Xiaofu didn't want to talk more. "Boss, how did you know we're here?" Du Xiaoyao took a step forward, approaching Du Xiaofu and asking. His eyes sparkled with a dazzling gold light like 2 scorching suns. "The Lord of the 3,000 Great Worlds told me to meet you earlier. I came here to wait." Du Xiaofu looked at the man in gold clothes in front of him and said, "It's him." Du Xiaoyao and Little Star were surprised. Of course, they knew the Lord of the 3,000 Great Worlds. That year in Divine Martial World, he had arranged many things for them. Moreover, Little Star's father, Dragon God, was the good brother of the Lord of the 3,000 Great Worlds. "Dad, have you found Mother Shuang, Little Ba, Little Huang, and Little Lin? Little Star suddenly blinked, looking a little worried. Not long after the 6 of them were separated from Du Xiaofu, they were hunted down again, and the other 4 were separated. After so many years, if he couldn't find any trace of them, Little Star felt that he couldn't face his dad. Hearing Little Star's words, Du Xiaoyao's eyes narrowed. He couldn't help but look seriously at Du Xiaofu, wanting to hear his answer. Don't worry, I found them long ago. They're all fine now, in a safe place. Du Xiaofu smiled, looked at the 2 and asked, I'll explain these things to you in the future. The 2 of you obtained the opportunity in Burial Space Mountain. Do you know if there are other benefits? Since they had come to this extraordinary place, they naturally had to understand the situation inside. If there were other opportunities, they definitely couldn't miss them. A powerhouse from the Phoenix clan is buried here. We obtained his inheritance, and almost all of his remaining energy has been exhausted. There's only a dead place left, and there are no more benefits to be found. Du Xiaoyao sighed softly. After obtaining the inheritance of the powerhouse from the Phoenix clan, he naturally knew how terrifying that powerhouse was. Therefore, he deeply felt sorry for his death. Not only that, there's also a great ominous being below. It's also extremely terrifying. It should have been suppressed by the powerhouse from the Phoenix clan back then. Little Star turned around, looked at the mountain range behind him, and said softly, A great ominous being? Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows. Could this place really be related to the ancient demonic war? If the powerhouse from the Phoenix clan had fallen here, who exactly was he suppressing? Father, you mustn't have any ideas about that ominous being. When Little Star saw Du Xiaofu's eyes light up, he hurriedly said, When Uncle Little Demon and I entered, we felt an invisible force protecting us, and that was why we were able to obtain the inheritance safely. In the end, we even came out unscathed. However, if we entered directly, not to mention an ordinary immortal realm expert, I feel that even a slightly weaker meditative realm expert might not be able to withstand the great Dao veins inside. Is that terrifying? Du Xiaofu's heart shook, and he immediately withdrew his little thoughts. He could imagine that when Little Star and Du Xiaoyao entered Burial Space Mountain, the invisible force that protected them was definitely set up by senior brother Lu Xiaoyu. It seemed that the powerhouse from the Phoenix clan wasn't simple, and the ominous being suppressed by him was terrifying as well. Otherwise, it wouldn't have made Little Star so afraid. However, even though he didn't have any ideas about Burial Space Mountain anymore, Du Xiaofu was still very curious. Exactly what kind of figures were buried there? How powerful were they back then? At the same time, were there even more secrets that hadn't been unearthed? It's more than terrifying. When we first entered, we couldn't even stand up. Our legs were really weak. The pressure there was so strong that it almost made our hearts stop beating. Du Xiaoyao also became serious and added, Then let's not investigate it. Du Xiaofu nodded and dispelled the idea. Although the 2 ancient powerhouses were already dead, the place where they were buried was definitely not a place that just anyone could desecrate. Let's go. We'll leave this place first. If there's a chance in the future, we'll definitely come back to investigate this Burial Space Mountain. Du Xiaofu no longer hesitated and said to Du Xiaoyao and Little Star. Chapter 2866. Du Xiaofu planned to bring Du Xiaoyao and Little Xingxing back to transcendent Changrong heaven. His plan was clear. He would first return to Yuqing Divine Kingdom and meet up with Ouyang Shuang, Du Xiaoba, Du Xiaolin, and Du Xiaohuang before returning to Shenwu World. Hundreds of years had passed. He did not know how Shenwu World was doing. The experts there were probably waiting anxiously to come to the 33 heavens. When he thought of this, Du Xiaofu could not help but smile strangely. His old friends from Shenwu World, especially those who had reached the Saint Realm or above, all wanted to come to the 33 heavens as soon as possible. He had not returned for hundreds of years. Some of the old guys were probably worried sick. Right now, some things had almost settled down, and there was nothing urgent. The Yuqing Divine Kingdom was peaceful, and the 20,000 young disciples in the celestial devil battlefield were taken care of by the experts of the various holy lands. There was no need to worry about anything happening. Therefore, it was time to go back and bring the experts to the 33 heavens. With Yu Qing Divine Kingdom as a foothold, it could be said that Shenwu world had found a place to settle down. They would not be like the people from other small worlds. Most of them were homeless after entering the 33 heavens. I haven't seen Grandpa, Grandma, Auntie, and the others in a long time. I miss everyone, little Xingxing said. After coming to the 33 heavens, they had experienced many things. They missed their hometowns very much. Let's go. We'll return to Transcendent Chang Rong Heaven and make some preparations. Then we'll return to the desolate country, Du Xiaofu said. Then he rose into the air, intending to leave. However, he had only just made his move and had yet to truly land when he saw many figures surrounding him. They were the people who had come to the burial space mountain with the intention of finding a blessing. Du Xiaofu could not help but frown. This scene must be the trouble that Lu Xiaoyu had mentioned. Little girl, and that kid, what did you find after coming out of burial space mountain? Under their gazes, a burly man with a huge rhinoceros horn on his head walked over. He glanced at Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing before calling out. Hurry up and tell me what treasure is inside. Did you guys get it? Another expert stepped forward and said coldly. Although this person was in human form, there were many small arms on both sides of his body. He looked like a strange fishbone that was walking upright. The burial space mountain is a forbidden area of the Yinqiong Wujio heaven. How did you manage to escape unscathed? Immediately after, they saw another person with a face full of bumps and a grin that extended all the way to his ears walk up to the three of them. Tyrant Fire Rhinoceros, Flying Divine Ho, Heaven-Splitting Divine Toad. Du Xiaofu scanned through the three of them. Instantly, he knew where they were from. They were from the Tyrant Fire Rhinoceros clan, the Flying Divine Ho clan, and the Heaven-Splitting Divine Toad clan. He knew these three clans. They weren't weak. Although they weren't the top clans in the Yinqiong Wujio heaven, they could be counted as middle-level clans. They weren't weaker than the 19 beast clans that had chased after Du Xiaofu's group in the Qiansu Jinghua heaven, or the 8-headed serpent clan and the Chimera Lion clan. Moreover, the three of them were at the third sky of Immortal Realm. They also had several Immortal Realm experts with them. Besides the 3 beast clans, there were also some experts from the human clan and other clans. They slowly gathered around and fixed their eyes on Du Xiaofu, Du Xiaoyao, and little Xingxing. They wanted to hear their answers. Why should I tell you? Du Xiaoyao hated this kind of situation the most. She took a step forward, lifted her head, and said arrogantly, "If you want to know what's inside, go and see for yourself." This woman would never admit defeat. Even though she was facing so many experts, she wasn't scared at all. Du Xiaofu observed for a while. Many experts didn't move, especially those at the high level of Immortal Realm. They just watched from a distance and didn't come forward to ask. However, he knew that it wasn't because they didn't want to come forward. It was because they didn't need to. With the early Immortal Realm experts leading the way, they just needed to watch. Kid, are you talking to us? The expert of the Tyrant Fire Rhinoceros clan was enraged. His bell-like eyes focused as he shouted at Du Xiaoyao. He could see Du Xiaoyao's cultivation base. She was only at the first sky of Immortal Realm, which wasn't enough for him to put her in his eyes. I'm talking to a bunch of dogs. Your barking is too loud. You're bothering me. Du Xiaoyao glared at him discontentedly. As soon as these words were spoken, the atmosphere in the area immediately changed. Many experts changed their visages. They couldn't help but release their terrifying auras, rolling toward Du Xiaofu, Du Xiaoyao, and Little Star. Kid, you have a sharp tongue. I advise you to tell us the truth. Otherwise, you won't be able to avoid suffering. The expert of the Flying Divine Ho clan said with a gloomy face. If you don't tell us, don't blame us for being impolite. If you don't want to die, don't dawdle. Otherwise, when we take action, it will be too late. If you're stubborn, we'll search your primordial spirit. We can get what we want. Many people were enraged. They were enraged because of Du Xiaoyao's words. Did this kid have a screw loose in his head? Couldn't he see the situation in front of him? There were only 3 of them and they had hundreds of warriors surrounding them. Once they started to fight, they didn't need to tell the result. They could imagine it with their butts. It's annoying when a dog barks. When a group of dogs barks at the same time, it's even more annoying. Little Star gently stepped forward. Her slender body moved in the void. She didn't feel scared of the battle in front of her at all. Hearing her, the experts on the other side became more enraged. Little girl, you don't want to do it the hard way. Tell us now and we can leave your corpses intact. The third sky of Immortal Realm expert of the sky-splitting Divine Toad clan shouted indignantly. Wisps of origin energy boiled around him, releasing a brutal aura. He was enraged. He directly said that he wanted to kill Du Xiaoyao, Little Star, and Du Xiaofu. Really? Little Star snorted, her eyes bright. I can crush a chicken or a pottery dog like you with one hand. She didn't want to back off. She stood against the experts on the other side with equal harshness. A second sky of Immortal Realm warrior dares to talk big like that. You're courting death. The expert of the sky-splitting Divine Toad clan shouted. He couldn't stand it anymore. Of the 3 young men in front of him, other than the purple-robed young man whose strength he could not see through, the other 2 had lower cultivations than him and were far from being worthy of his attention. I think you're the one who wants to die. Little Star arched her delicate brows and snorted. If you want to die, I'll help you. As soon as he finished speaking, a dazzling divine light surged from his body. It was colorful and contained a strange and mighty power. It brazenly spread out in the void. It was as if a huge rock was thrown into a calm lake, and it exploded with an earth-shaking sound. Massive waves rose in the void and expanded like water ripples. You don't know your place. Let me take care of you. The expert of the sky-splitting Divine Toad clan shouted. He didn't move forward but backed off instead. Subsequently, the huge mouth that was grinning from ear to ear suddenly opened wider and wider, and it grew larger and larger as if it wanted to swallow the entire world, causing others to be unable to help but feel shocked. Wah! The innate ability of the sky-splitting Divine Toad clan is space law. When they open their giant mouths, they can swallow the sky, kill the earth, and swallow the stars and the moon. Although that little girl has second sky of Immortal Realm cultivation base at such a young age, she's going to die. In the distance, a cultivator spoke with a sinister smile in his eyes. When the others heard this, they also revealed gratified smiles. They had been waiting here for a long time. When they saw 2 people walk out of the burial space mountain, of course, they wanted to ask about the situation. Who would have thought that the other party didn't know life from death? They dared to provoke them when the difference in numbers was like heaven and earth. They were simply courting death. Wait until that little girl is captured. We'll know the situation deep inside the burial space mountain. There are many rumors about that forbidden land, but no one knows the details. I didn't expect that a kid and a little girl could get out of there alive. Perhaps they're safe there. Otherwise, how could 2 experts at first sky of Immortal Realm escape unharmed? It's good. With them here, we can know more about the situation. Perhaps we can find a way to get in there and explore. Check their primordial spirits. We can get a big fortune. Perhaps those 2 have already obtained some benefits. Let's take them as well. The experts of Incheong Wu Sky discussed, their eyes gazing at little Xingxing and the expert of the sky-splitting Divine Toad clan. They wanted to see them fight. Everybody thought that the little girl couldn't withstand a single blow. She was only at second sky of Immortal Realm. How could she resist a third sky of Immortal Realm expert? Dealing with a third sky of Immortal Realm expert, perhaps little Xingxing can pinch him to death with one hand. On the other hand, Du Xiaofu's lips curled into a smile. He understood clearly how intimidating an Immortal Realm expert with 3 primitive laws could be. Let alone a third sky of Immortal Realm expert, even if little Xingxing faced a fourth sky of Immortal Realm expert, it would be hard to say who would win. Shi Yan was the best example. He had used the 4 primitive laws to reach the legendary ethereal Dao realm. At this moment, even if he faced a 5th sky of Immortal Realm expert, he could fight or even kill him. Moreover, little Xingxing had reached the 2nd step of the Immortal Realm. But Today's situation is really troublesome. Du Xiaofu wasn't worried about little Xingxing. However, he couldn't help but frown. He looked around, thinking that it wouldn't be a good day. They were surrounded by so many experts. Although all the immortal realm experts of the Wu sky were here, at least 1/10 of them were here. There were tens of thousands of them. Shi Yan had to take Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing with him. If they wanted to leave, it would be very difficult. At this moment, many people had made up their minds. They wanted to get information about the burial sky mountain from the two of them. However, whether they told the truth or not, they couldn't make Du Xiaofu and the other two leave easily. How dare you show off your petty tricks in front of me? While Du Xiaofu was pondering, little Xingxing snorted coldly. A delicate and pretty fist suddenly smashed out, and the terrifying origin energy of the laws shook, causing even space to tremble violently. In front of this fist, 3 phantoms of divine beasts stormed out. A gigantic azure dragon twisted its body, causing the void to explode inch by inch. The law of souls moved along with it, releasing a domineering pressure that suppressed the divine soul of everyone present. A vermilion bird flapped its wings, bringing with it raging flames. It soared into the sky and rushed to the 9 heavens. As it flapped its wings, the space was instantly frozen and tightly controlled. In addition, a black tortoise appeared. It was like a giant mountain occupying the void. It collapsed and pressed down on the immortal realm expert of the sky-splitting divine toad clan. This was the matter principle. It carried an extremely heavy and solid feeling. It was brazen in the world. Gua! The sky-splitting divine toad's throat made a gua sound. Its huge mouth enveloped heaven and earth, swallowing everything in all directions. After its terrifying space principle was activated, heaven and earth darkened, as if it had really disappeared from this place. However, the shaking space suddenly paused after little Xingxing's punch was thrown out. Rumble, oh. Then, there was a loud explosion, accompanied by a tragic and painful roar. Under everyone's gazes, the heavens and earth that had been swallowed by the heaven-splitting divine toad clan's expert instantly burst apart and exploded. A terrifying source of laws was surging out, causing the void to be annihilated. The heavens shook and the earth shook, collapsing one after another. Retreat! Hurry! Many experts were shocked, feeling incomparably shocked by such a scene. Many figures retreated quickly, leaving the center of this terrifying battlefield in just a blink of an eye. If they were a little bit slower, the warriors under Third Sky of Immortal Realm would have been hurt in just a blink of an eye. The power of 3 primitive principles isn't weak at all. Du Xiaofu's eyes sparkled. He was shaken by little Xingxing's competence. At the same time, he felt happy. At the same time as he muttered, Du Xiaofu also suddenly swung out, sweeping out a large area of brilliant light, completely blocking out the fluctuations of the battle between the two of them, causing it to be unable to cause any harm to him and Du Xiaoyao. Boss's competence. Seeing Du Xiaofu break through the remnant energy of the great battle so easily, Du Xiaoyao's eyes couldn't help but shrink fiercely. He had planned to pull Du Xiaofu and run away. He didn't expect that his boss could resist it that easily. Du Xiaoyao was scared out of his wits. He had just said that he wanted to take back his boss's position. It seemed like his idea was just a waste of time. He could resist little Xingxing's energy shockwaves easily. How strong was his boss? My boss's position. Du Xiaoyao beamed a forced smile, shaking his head and talking to himself. It seemed like he shouldn't think about the boss's position for the rest of his life. Du Xiaofu's growth speed wasn't something he could catch up with. While Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao were lost in their thoughts, the two figures in the battle flew away, moving further away. The situation of the two fell into the eyes of many experts. At this moment, little Xingxing was still the same as before. Her skirt fluttered in the wind. She stood gracefully, which gave people an indescribable feeling. On the other side, the situation of the immortal realm expert of the sky-cracking divine toad clan had frightened Yin Qiong, Wu Jiutian, and the others. At this moment, his lips were torn apart. His chin was drooping, leaving only a small piece of flesh hanging in front of his stomach. Thick blood was oozing out from the wound. On the other hand, his body was in an extremely tattered state. Piece after piece of flesh had exploded apart to reveal ghastly bones, and his imposing aura had vanished completely. How could it be? How could it be? He's an expert at third sky of Immortal Realm. How could he be defeated by a little girl at second sky of Immortal Realm? Not only was he defeated, but it was a crushing defeat. If they had exchanged several more moves, I'm afraid he would have died. Everyone was dumbfounded. The result of the battle between the two of them caused their jaws to drop to the ground. No one had thought that the result would be like this. It was unbelievable. The gap between second sky of Immortal Realm and third sky of Immortal Realm was really obvious. Although some extraordinary warriors could ignore such a gap, they shouldn't be able to crush the other party like that. However, the fact was that the third sky of Immortal Realm expert of the sky-cracking Divine Toad clan had suffered a big loss after just one exchange. He had almost lost half of his life. That little girl isn't ordinary. She has 3 primitive principles. She has broken through to the Immortal Realm at the same time. However, at this moment, an expert spoke up. Hearing him, the entire place burst into an uproar. 3 primitive principles. She has 3 primitive principles. It's impossible. How could someone control 3 primitive principles at the same time? Since the ancient times, I've never heard of such an expert. How could it be? How did that little girl do it? Controlling 3 primitive principles at the same time and breaking through to the Immortal Realm? How heaven-defying was her innate endowment to do that? Anyway, to the experts here, no one had ever heard of such an existence. However, they understood one fact clearly. Once such an existence grew up, she would have the competence to stir up the entire 33 heavens. The whole world would have to submit to her. Many experts from the Yin Qiong boundless celestial sect were boiling with anger. Everyone roared crazily, unable to accept such a thing. However, the fact was in front of them. They had to believe it. Chapter 2867. Heh, if you dare to fight with my niece, you should first weigh your own strength. Du Xiaoyao chuckled when he saw the horrified expressions of many experts. He naturally knew little Xingxing's strength. As the daughter of the dragon god, if she wasn't strong, then what justice was there to speak of? She's much stronger than I imagined. Du Xiaofu smacked his lips and said softly. He already had a premonition that little Xingxing was very strong, but he didn't expect her to be strong to this extent. Du Xiaofu could naturally see that little Xingxing hadn't used her full strength when she attacked earlier. She had held back. If she had used her full strength, then the expert of the Sky-Splitting Toad clan might really have been killed in an instant. If that was the case, then it was really terrifying. Du Xiaofu even felt that if little Xingxing fought against an existence of the 4th heaven of the Undying Realm, she might have more than a 50% chance of winning. As expected of an expert who had mastered 3 complete primordial laws and had broken through to the Immortal Realm. In the distance, there were still many experts in the Yin Qiong boundless heaven who hadn't made a move earlier. Among them, there were a large number of high-level Immortal Realm existences. At this time, everyone's eyes were shining as they looked at the scene. Their gazes fell on the slender girl with uncontrollable shock. They must have a great background. This little girl and those 2 young men must have a great background. That's right. Ordinary forces absolutely can't nurture such heaven-defying people. They might have poked a hornet's nest. Who knows how strong the forces behind them are? These experts were all shocked. It wasn't difficult for them to imagine that the purple-robed young man, the golden-robed young man, and the little girl's origins were probably not simple. This made everyone a little doubtful, and they didn't dare to act rashly. If they provoked an existence they couldn't afford to offend, then it would be a disaster for everyone. What are you afraid of? If everyone in the Yin Qiong boundless heaven is united, what is there to be afraid of even if it's the 3 strongest clans? However, at this time, someone said so. His tone was eerie and gloomy. These words caused the surroundings to fall silent as many people fell into deep thought. These words were not without reason. As one of the 33 heavens, if the majority of the forces in the Incheong Wudao heaven formed an alliance, even the dragons, phoenixes, and Chilants would have to retreat, unless all three races came at the same time. Not long after, another human powerhouse nodded solemnly and said, "That makes sense. There must be some rare benefits in the burial space mountain. We must obtain them. But the precondition is that we In Cheong Wu Sui must band together to avoid future troubles." I agree. At the very least, we must be united in this matter. That's right. No matter what, let's get the benefits from Burial Void Mountain first. The treasures in the ancient remnant land must not be lost. Furthermore, it is very likely that those two people have obtained them. For that benefit, we have to give it our all. I also agree. As long as we are of the same mind on this matter, we will not be afraid of any force. Shortly after, the forces of the In Cheong Wu Sui heaven reached an agreement. They couldn't care too much at this moment. If they wanted to know the details of the burial space mountain, they had to ask the golden-clothed young man and the girl. No matter what kind of background they had, as long as their world united, even those ferocious ancient clans couldn't threaten them. With such an idea in mind, everyone's hearts were filled with confidence. One by one, the experts flew out and arrived where Du Xiaofu, Du Xiaoyao, and Little Xingxing were, and once again surrounded them in the center. This time, the experts who took the lead were at 5th Sky of Immortal Realm and 6th Sky of Immortal Realm. You don't know life from death. Since you've come to our In Cheong Wu Sui heaven, do you think we can make you rebel? A man with leopard spots walked out, shouting at the three. He was at 5th Sky of Immortal Realm, so he didn't put the three in his eyes. Among the three of them, only the little girl wasn't bad. Although she had 3 primitive principles, she couldn't overcome the big gap between their realms to defeat him. Apparently, the golden-clothed young man was only at 1st Sky of Immortal Realm. He wasn't his equal opponent. The purple-clothed young man didn't need to be mentioned. Although his aura was profound, it wasn't hard to see it. He didn't have the aura of an Immortal Realm expert. He wasn't a threat at all. The man who had just spoken ignored him. "Good, In Cheong Wu Sui heaven. If you want to fight, the 3 of us will accompany you to the end." Little Star was never a person who would admit defeat. Facing so many experts, her aura surged crazily. As the daughter of the dragon god, she had a lot of confidence. When Little Star knew that her father had come here under the guidance of the master of the 3,000 great worlds, who was also her father's good brother, she wasn't afraid at all. Her father would always pay attention to her. He would never let her fall into a deadly situation. However, at the same time, Little Star wanted to measure her real competence to know her position. "Little girl, you don't know life from death. If you want to die, how can I not help you?" The man with leopard spots snorted. He took action immediately. His body moved like a lightning strike, disappearing from his spot in just a blink of an eye. Almost at the same time, he appeared beside Little Xingxing, transformed into a huge leopard, and charged down brazenly. He's an expert from the Sky-Devouring Leopard Clan. The Sky-Devouring Leopard Clan is terrifyingly intimidating. Compared to the Sky-Cracking Divine Toad, the Tyrannical Flame Rhinoceros, and the Flying Divine Toad, they're much stronger. The innate ability of this clan is also Space Rule. However, when he uses his 5th Sky of Immortal Realm body, the power of the origin of the principle is much fiercer than the Sky-Cracking Divine Toad. People around couldn't help but discuss when they saw the man turn into a leopard shadow. As a member of the In Cheong Wu Tian's clan, everybody knew how intimidating the Sky-Devouring Leopard Clan was. They could definitely stand at the forefront of this world. Although they couldn't compare to the strongest clans, they were strong enough to look down on countless creatures. Under people's gazes, the Sky-Devouring Leopard's real body was revealed. Its 2 front claws slashed the void, tearing the world like a piece of cloth. Swish. In such a situation, Little Star didn't dare to be careless. Her exquisite body soared into the sky, facing the attack immediately. The 3 great primitive powers of space, matter, and soul were shaken at the same time. The intimidating power swept over and suppressed the sky and the earth, The azure dragon, the vermilion bird, and the black tortoise's 3 beast forms crushed the void and hovered in this world. They were like the lords of the immemorial time, incomparably fierce. However, when the sky-devouring leopard's claws slashed down, a massive crack appeared. The 3 beast forms dimmed as if they were about to collapse. Arg! Little Xingxing let out a muffled groan from his throat as he retreated again. The pressure was so great that she couldn't resist it. The expert of the sky-devouring leopard clan was too intimidating. When his 5th Sky of Immortal Realm cultivation base burst out, it wasn't something Little Star could endure. If the difference in cultivation base was too big, no matter how many tricks she had, she couldn't make up for it. Shortly after, Little Star's aura was pressed down. It fluctuated crazily as if it was about to vanish. "Wah, little girl, I told you. You want to fight against me? You don't know your place. Hurry, tell me the situation in the burial space mountain. Otherwise, I won't be polite anymore. I will suppress you and search your primordial spirit." The sky-devouring leopard was so massive that his body was like a mountain ridge. His cold words came out of his mouth. His leopard eyes scanned the place, gazing at Little Star coldly as he grinned oddly at her. At the same time, Little Star's face became stern. The opponent was an expert. It was really tough for her to confront him directly. "You're an old monster who has lived for so many years. Do you think you should be proud of yourself for having the upper hand in front of a little girl?" All of a sudden, a voice arose. Along with this, a violet-robed figure appeared in front of Little Xingxing. At the same time, a huge palm of light slapped down from the violet-robed figure, and it carried terrifying force as it collided with the eclipse leopard's claws. Buzz, buzz, buzz. As soon as the light palm struck, a large area of origin energy boiled. The power of the 4 great primitive laws was displayed. It contained tremendous power and hit the sky-devouring leopard's claws in just a blink of an eye. Boom rumble, a loud explosion reverberated in the sky. Massive sound waves swept everywhere. Shortly after, the space that the sky-devouring leopard had torn was shattered into nothingness, returning to the primal chaos. The sky-devouring leopard's body was pushed backward. His leopard eyes were filled with surprise. Seeing the light palm vanish and the endless origin energy of the origin scattering, the expert of the sky-devouring leopard clan relaxed a little. "Kid, how dare you stop me?" The sky-devouring leopard's eyes moved, looking at Du Xiaofu who had just attacked. He shouted coldly, "I know your innate talents aren't ordinary. I've cultivated for so many years to reach the 5th Sky of Immortal Realm. But so what? As long as I can subdue you, it's enough." He looked at Du Xiaofu with a ferocious look in his eyes. The purple-robed young man hadn't taken action yet, but the sky-devouring leopard didn't expect him to be so strong that he could resist his attack. It wasn't something an ordinary person could do. The sky-devouring leopard was surprised that he had underestimated the young man. Apparently, the young man in front of him wasn't much weaker than him. However, even though he was surprised, he did not take this matter too seriously. No matter how extraordinary the 3 of them were, it was absolutely impossible for them to escape from the encirclement of countless living beings in the Yin Qiong flawless heaven. If a genius dies prematurely, no matter how amazing he is, he'll only end up as a tragedy. I advise you to get out of the way. Otherwise, I'll kill you first. The sky-devouring leopard's eyes were cold as he gazed at Du Xiaofu. He didn't hide his murderous intention at all. "Really?" Du Xiaofu wasn't moved. He just asked softly. Then, he took a step forward and faced the giant beast directly. His body seemed as small as a mountain in front of it. However, Du Xiaofu's aura wasn't weaker than his opponent's. "Dad!" Bus. Little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao saw Du Xiaofu step forward, and they couldn't help but call out to him hurriedly. They already knew that Du Xiaofu's power had improved tremendously. He was much stronger than the 2 of them. However, the 2 of them didn't dare to think too much. Anyway, they had cultivated for about the same number of years. They had reached their current cultivation base after they had obtained the great fortune in the burial Sky Mountain. And Du Xiaofu must have had his own experiences during these years. However, it wasn't easy for him to resist a fifth sky of immortal realm expert. Thus, little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao were worried. However, after the two of them spoke, Du Xiaofu gently waved his hand, indicating for them not to be nervous. Then, he looked at the giant sky-devouring leopard in front of him and said, "I also advise you to get out of the way. Otherwise, if you force your way out, the one who will die won't be me." While Du Xiaofu was talking, his eyes shifted to the high-level immortal realm experts in the distance. He didn't put the sky-devouring leopard at fifth sky of immortal realm in his eyes. Du Xiaofu wasn't afraid of him since he had exposed his real power. Their real opponents were the experts who hadn't taken any action yet. They were the biggest threats to the three of them. What an arrogant kid. If you don't know your competence, I'll kill the chicken to warn the monkey. The fifth sky of immortal realm expert of the sky-devouring leopard clan bellowed. He was enraged. How could he endure being disdained by a young man? As he spoke, the leopard moved. Its 4 hooves stepped into the void, and ripples of the origin of laws spread out, as if it was walking on water. Those were the patterns of space principle. Shortly after, they confined this area and covered the purple-robed young man's body to prevent him from running away. Besides, the space around them was shaking as if it was frozen. Then it pressed down like bricks. It was as if a series of city walls had appeared in the void, and all of them began to move with Du Xiaofu as the center. A mighty force burst forth, as if it was going to crush him into dust. "Let's see who's the chicken and who's the monkey." Du Xiaofu snorted. His purple robe straightened like a javelin. Light of principles flowed from his body like a clear spring. 4 different auras diffused from him. As soon as this happened, many experts around felt like their throats were pinched. No one could utter a word. They're the 4 great original laws. Such a sentence rose in everyone's heart. It wasn't hard for them to recognize that the auras emitted from Du Xiaofu's body contained all of the 4 great original laws. Such a scene caused countless people to be shocked to the extreme. Their hearts couldn't help but pound. They felt like they were about to suffocate. How could it be? How could he control the 4 great original laws at the same time? It's impossible. Standing opposite of Du Xiaofu, the expert of the sky-devouring leopard clan was dumbstruck. He couldn't help but mumble. His eyes were wide open as if he was in a trance. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Everyone knew that everything in this world could be attributed to the derivation of the 4 great original laws. However, when a creature cultivated to a certain realm, they had to break the cage and reconstruct their true self. They had to get rid of many useless laws and focus on one. Only then could they have a greater chance to surpass the immortal realm. In the entire 33 heavens, it wasn't that there weren't any creatures who had mastered 2 great original laws, but they were absolutely rare. Each one of them was enough to shock the world. Previously, the little girl had used the power of 3 great original laws to crush the 3rd sky of immortal realm expert of the sky-splitting divine toad clan. That had really shocked everyone. That was why they suspected that those people in front of them were from a very formidable force. However, at this moment, there were many people from Yin Qiong Wujio heaven present. Many forces were united in their desire to obtain the benefits of the burial space mountain. Naturally, there was not much fear in their hearts. After all, no matter how powerful one force was, it was absolutely impossible to fight against an entire macro world. But now, everything that the purple-robed young man revealed caused endless shock to arise in everyone's hearts once again. No one could believe that it was true. How could someone master all 4 great original laws at the same time? Where did they come from after all? Why were these juniors so intimidating? However, as soon as they were astonished, what happened next almost made their hearts stop. They were going to die from a heart attack. On the purple-robed young man's body, the origin energy of various laws madly circulated. The laws of time were profound and unfathomable. The laws of space were vast and encompassed all things. The laws of matter were complex and all-encompassing. And the laws of life were boundless and mysterious, capable of creating all living things. The 4 great original laws were shaking, intertwining with each other. They turned into a dazzling halo that spun rapidly around the purple-cloaked young man. A strange aura diffused from the light wheel, spreading out in the void. Even the experts who were far away felt their bodies soften because of this aura. The high-level immortal realm experts were caught off guard, and they all shivered hard. Dao aura. It's the Dao aura. How could it be the Dao aura? He has the Dao aura. It's too intimidating. What realm is he at? What's going on? Why does he have the Dao aura? Everybody was frightened. They felt their nerves tense to the extreme as if they were about to break. The purple-cloaked young man's aura was just at the immortal realm. He hadn't reached the meditative realm yet. How could he have such intimidating Dao auras? It didn't make sense. It was totally unimaginable. Many experts were astounded at this moment. No one could understand how an immortal realm expert could have the Dao aura. Chapter 2868. Under the gazes of many experts of the Yin Qiongwu heaven, Du Xiaofu slowly stepped forward. Boom, 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 boom. The space that the expert of the Eclipse Panther clan had frozen cracked inch by inch, scattering like gravel. The terrifying confinement collapsed in just a blink of an eye. The giant block moving horizontally in the void was suppressed fiercely. Its speed slowed down, and it became extremely difficult to move. Du Xiaofu had resisted the attack of the fifth sky of immortal realm expert. It looked like he was lifting something heavy. The origin of the four great primitive laws and the Dao aura had wove together, intimidating the Eclipse Panther expert. You dare to be absent-minded in the middle of a battle. The corners of Du Xiaofu's mouth curled into a sneer. He looked at the Eclipse Panther, and the light will formed by the power of the four primordial laws instantly shot out and struck the Eclipse Panther. This wheel of light was like a divine weapon, slicing wantonly. In an instant, it sent the Eclipse Panther flying. Blood splattered in the air and dyed the sky red. The power of the origin of space was obliterated and turned into dust. However, Du Xiaofu's light wheel also exploded and dissipated into nothingness. What a dangerous kid! The Eclipse Panther retreated and hovered in the void far from him. He gritted his teeth, looking at the purple-robed young man with resentment. Ever since he had cultivated until now, he had rarely suffered such a big loss, especially when a junior had hurt him. It was something he couldn't accept. It was an absolute humiliation. However, he was at fifth sky of immortal realm. If Du Xiaofu hadn't controlled the four great primitive laws at the same time, he wouldn't have been able to sneak attack him. Therefore, at this moment, even though he was forced back by the attack and suffered a certain degree of injury, it was not particularly serious. However, in the eyes of the many experts outside, all of them were extremely shocked once again. That kid's competence is so intimidating. He could repel a desolate sky panther at fifth sky of immortal realm. I can't see through his cultivation. I don't know what level he is at. His aura isn't really intimidating, but he could beat a fifth sky of immortal realm expert. It's not truth-severing, and it doesn't seem like immortal either, because it's impossible to condense Taoist rhymes in the immortal realm. Countless experts were discussing with each other, their hearts filled with shock. Today, they had broadened their horizons. No one had seen such an expert before. Other than shock, everyone present had no other emotions. At the same time, little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao were fiercely shocked as well. Both of them were shocked to the point their eyes and mouths were wide open. They had never doubted Du Xiaofu's talent, but the terrifying strength he displayed at this time still made the two of them unable to wrap their heads around it. Du Xiaofu's strength was too terrifying. Little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao were mentally prepared, but they still found it hard to believe what was happening in front of them. This kind of cultivating speed was too frightening. They had been in the 33 heavens for just several hundred years, but Du Xiaofu could confront a fifth sky of immortal realm expert directly? Kid, you dare to hurt me. Today, I want you to die without a burial place. The expert of the Eclipse Panther clan became more enraged. The stronger Du Xiaofu was, the bigger the slap to his face. At the beginning, he didn't put the other in his eyes at all. He couldn't tolerate the fact that a young junior had actually injured him. Panther swallows 8 desolates, slaughter the sky and destroy the earth. The moment these words came out of its mouth, the Eclipse Panther's huge mouth suddenly opened wide under everyone's gazes. A pitch-black passageway appeared in his mouth, leading straight to his abdomen. A terrifying black vortex was formed. Boom, boom, boom. Instantly, the sky around shattered. Mountains rose from the ground, and the rivers far from there were surging waves. All of them were sucked into the massive mouth that looked like a bottomless pit. The power of the principle was shaking. The origin was boiling, moving everything and destroying everything. This scene was too terrifying. Everything that was being pulled was swallowed into the massive mouth. It wasn't a simple swallow. Under the effect of the space principle, everything that the space principle carried was sucked into a bottomless abyss. Retreat. The warriors with weaker cultivation bases retreated immediately. They didn't want to be swallowed and become food in the Eclipse Panther's stomach. Not only them, even Du Xiaoyao and Little Xingxing's expressions became somewhat serious. Apparently, the Eclipse Panther had used all of his power. No matter what, he wanted to kill Du Xiaofu. Dad, let's deal with him together. Little Xingxing's eyes glowed with a strange light. The Eclipse Panther's competence made her feel threatened. She was afraid that Du Xiaofu couldn't deal with it alone. No need. You guys step back. Let me deal with him. Du Xiaofu gently waved his hand again. Then, he stepped forward and stood still as if he had taken root in the void. No matter how the terrifying swallowing power pulled at the space principle around him, it couldn't move his body at all. Heavenly Palace of Purple Gold. With a light shout, Du Xiaofu's hand flashed and a broadsword appeared in his hand. He held it tightly. The Heavenly Palace of Purple Gold had been in the desolate space for a long time. Recently, it had finally finished swallowing the Nirvana Dragon Sword of the Tsangming Divine Kingdom and completed the fusion. The Nirvana Dragon Sword's soul had also been refined and turned into its own power. At this time, its grade had reached the level of a high-grade true treasure of the laws. Even in the eyes of high-level immortal realm experts, it was absolutely a supreme treasure. Kid Dai. The Eclipse Panther opened its mouth wide as if it could swallow the sky and the earth. At the same time, it released the fluctuations of its origin spirit and shouted at Du Xiaofu. He used all of his cultivation and wanted to take down the purple-robed young man in one fell swoop to avenge the humiliation of being severely injured. However, Du Xiaofu ignored him and only gathered the power in his body. The 4 primordial laws vibrated again and evolved crazily. The terrifying origin force first split and turned into an 8 trigrams diagram. With Du Xiaofu as the center, it rotated with a whirring sound. After that, the origin force that had split transformed again. The entire 8 trigrams diagram turned into a divine ring. Everything in it appeared as if it was a miniature version of the real world. All of the generated Taoist rhymes were restrained and no longer overflowed on the surface. It gave birth to thousands of forms and created everything. Origin void-slaying sword, kill. Such a roar came out of Du Xiaofu's mouth. He raised the Heavenly Palace of Purple Gold above his head and slashed down fiercely. Qi. The divine ring evolved and all of its power was channeled into the Heavenly Palace of Purple Gold. A brilliant sword light pierced the sky and instantly appeared above the Eclipse Leopard's giant mouth. As the sword light descended, a terrifying crack appeared in the void. Everything that came into contact with it was instantly destroyed. The sword light was directed at the Eclipse Leopard's body. This was Du Xiaofu's most powerful technique. He used it directly against the enemy. Since today's trouble was unavoidable, he might as well use the most terrifying technique to intimidate the enemy. In addition, when Du Xiaofu used the Origin Void-slaying sword previously, it was directly evolved. Now, with the Heavenly Palace of Purple Gold as the carrier, it was even more terrifying. It was as if it was crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. If it met a god, it would kill a god. If it met a demon, it would kill a demon. Accompanied by a dull sound, fresh blood could be seen in the dazzling light. It was as dazzling as the red sun. Roar! The Eclipse Leopard's body was shaken violently. It was like a rolling mountain, shattering the void. At the same time, it roared miserably. Everyone around could clearly see that the huge leopard's body was dyed red by a large amount of blood, and there was a sword mark in the middle of its head. The skull had been cut open, and the stubble of the bone was exposed. The eclipse leopard was defeated. The experts of the Incheong Wujio heavens were even more shocked. Everyone was shocked to the extreme. That purple-cloaked young man was too intimidating. He could push back an expert at fifth sky of immortal realm and wound him severely. Among the younger generation, there should be no one who could do this. The cultivation of living beings was like the growth of trees. Every time a certain period of time passed, a corresponding trace would be left behind in the body. Therefore, at this moment, many people with profound cultivation could see through Du Xiaofu's true age with a single glance. That was why they couldn't use words to describe their feelings. Such a young junior. Really intimidating. Which force is it that can nurture such a terrifying figure? That kid is a human, and the golden-cloaked young man is a monster. He has the legendary red-bone horse monkey body. It's hard to tell the real body of that little girl. It's so strange. Too intimidating. I can't believe it. The force behind them is absolutely intimidating. This time, our Incheong Wu heaven must unite. Otherwise, we'll have endless troubles in the future. Who can see that purple-cloaked young man's realm? I want to know why he's so intimidating. Many experts of the Incheong Wu heaven were discussing. They couldn't suppress the fear in their hearts. They were guessing and trying to figure out the background of Du Xiaofu, Little Xingxing, and Du Xiaoyao. However, they couldn't make an accurate judgment based on the information they had shown. Everybody thought that if the force behind them burst out because of what happened today, it would be a terrible thing. At the same time, everybody was curious. They wanted to know Du Xiaofu's real cultivation base. That was what they couldn't figure out the most. That purple-cloaked young man didn't look like he was at the immortal realm, but why was he so intimidating? He could even defeat a fifth sky of immortal realm expert of the Eclipse Panther clan. I thought of a legendary realm. Right when people were filled with doubts, an expert at ninth sky of immortal realm spoke up. You're right. His words immediately attracted everyone's attention. Everybody gazed at him. They wanted to know what kind of realm he was at. How could he be so intimidating? According to the records of my clan, the immortal realm and the meditative realm didn't exist in the antiquity era. These two realms were gradually born after the heaven and earth were created. At that time, there was only one realm, which was called the ethereal path realm. At that time, some strong creatures could condense the Tao after reaching the ethereal path realm. In the end, those people became the strongest existences in the 33 heavens. This expert spoke, his eyes revealing a brilliant radiance, carrying a burning intent. Speaking about the legendary realm, he couldn't help but be more frightened. After hearing his explanation, the other experts were also shocked. Most of the forces didn't have such ancient records, so they didn't know this kind of secret. It could be said that they had broadened their knowledge. According to the legends, to reach the ethereal path realm, one must master the 4 great primitive laws and fuse them. The expert spoke again. He looked at the purple-cloaked young man in the distance, his eyes full of solemnity. No matter what, the word antiquity had been in the past for countless years. No one knew how long it had been. That legendary realm had long been annihilated in the annals of history, leaving only a few words in the records. The harsh cultivating environment and the abnormal requirement for natural endowments had determined that no one could enter the ethereal path realm after the antiquity era. But who would have thought that someone would actually be able to step foot into such a place today? How could this not be shocking? If this news spread to the other worlds in the 33 heavens, the whole world would be in an uproar. They would be shocked by such terrifying news. What should we do? Should we kill him or not? This kid definitely has an extraordinary background. He's in the ethereal path realm. If you say he doesn't have a strong background, I won't believe it even if you beat me to death. That's right. However, his cultivation is still shallow and he hasn't had enough time to grow to the peak. We can't kill him. If we really kill him, It will definitely cause the force behind him to take revenge. What should we do? If we don't kill him, our enmity will be formed. When he grows up, it will be a huge problem. Not only that, but it will also be difficult for my Incheong Wujio Heaven to obtain the benefits in Burial Void Mountain. Many experts from Incheong Wujio Heaven began to hesitate. On one hand, they were afraid of the terrifying force behind Du Xiaofu. On the other hand, they coveted the treasures in Burial Void Mountain. If they didn't capture the 3 people before them, it would be difficult to find out what was in there and how they could enter and leave unscathed. Many high-level immortal experts were hesitant. They were considering whether to kill them or not. This was related to their fate in the future. This was a gamble. If they gambled correctly, many forces would soar and their strength would soar. If they gambled wrongly, they might face annihilation. I don't care so much. For the sake of benefits, I've decided to risk it all. No matter what, let's find the treasures in Burial Void Mountain first. Actually, there's no need to kill them. Just search their souls and spare their lives. That should be considered being courteous to the force behind them. Don't touch the violet-robed young man. You can definitely attack the other 2. Just search their souls and don't kill them. After a long struggle, many people's eyes had turned red. The treasures in Burial Void Mountain were something they wanted to obtain no matter what. After all, this was an ancient ruin, and it definitely contained a great secret. If they could successfully obtain it, who was to say that the major forces couldn't soar and even stand at the top of the 33 heavens? There was definitely such an opportunity. The ancient era was too brilliant. It was only because of the demon clan's massacre that it withered away. However, no one dared to doubt it. No one would think that the Burial Void Mountain, which had existed since ancient times, was an ordinary place. Since we've decided, let's do it. If we continue to hesitate, who knows what unforeseen events will happen? Don't touch the violet-robed kid. Start with the golden-robed young man. If we don't succeed, we'll deal with the little girl. Keep them alive and get the relevant information. Many high-level immortal experts of the Incheong Boundless Heavens had made up their minds. They had made up their minds to obtain the benefits in Burial Void Mountain. Many of them had red eyes, and they began to surround Du Xiaofu, Little Xingxing, and Du Xiaoyao. Finally, they can't bear it anymore and want to swarm over? Looking at everything happening around him, Du Xiaofu narrowed his eyes and muttered to himself. After repelling the devouring sky panther with one move, he did not chase after it. The surrounding experts were already closing in on him. It seemed like there was going to be a fierce battle soon. Thinking of this, Du Xiaofu couldn't help but look at the void. Today's matter was under senior brother Lu Xiaoyou's control. He probably wouldn't watch the 3 of them suffer too much. Thinking of this, Du Xiaofu's heart calmed down a lot. In order to obtain benefits, they're really crazy. Little Xingxing pouted slightly, and her brows were tightly knitted. With so many experts pressuring over, their momentum was extremely intimidating, causing her to feel heavy. It's only human nature, but these people are a little too crazy. There are indeed benefits left in Burial Void Mountain, but since we've obtained them, they naturally won't let it go. They want to find out what's inside. Du Xiaoyao pursed her lips and said. He understood the thoughts of Incheong and Wu Jiutian very well. However, their actions were a little too much. If it were him, he would definitely not casually attack people who had no enmity with him. Even if they wanted to obtain benefits, they would have to go there themselves. Let me give you a piece of advice. At this moment, Du Xiaofu suddenly stepped forward, facing the many experts from Incheong and Wu Jiutian, and coldly said, "If you stop now, I can pretend that nothing happened. However, if you really want to fight, we'll definitely accompany you to the end. However, at that time, I'm afraid you won't even have the chance to regret." Du Xiaofu's eyes swept across the crowd, and his cold words caused the surrounding experts to stop in their tracks and hesitate once again. After all, this purple-robed young man had shocked them too much earlier. Everyone had to carefully weigh his words. Chapter 2869. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. Listening to the purple-robed youth's words, which were full of confidence, caused their firm belief to waver. Most of them were in a state of panic, unable to decide what to do. The Yin Qiong Endless Heavens experts, who originally planned to unite, all had their own thoughts at this moment. They were weighing whether to retreat and not get involved in this muddy water. But at this moment, the void here suddenly rippled. Almost silently, an old figure stepped out from it. This old man's body was stooped, standing in the void as if on the verge of collapse. Only a few strands of hair were left on his head, dry and white. On his forehead, 2 dragon horns were pitch black and purple, shriveled and lifeless. The old man's face was the same. Deep wrinkles covered his face, engraved with the vicissitudes of time. Coupled with his staggering steps, he gave off the feeling of someone with 1 foot in the grave. There was no aura fluctuation on the old man's body. If not for the fact that he was standing in the air, he would look no different from an ordinary old man who was nearing the end of his life. But it was this unprepossessing, even very frail-looking old man that made everyone's pupils shrink fiercely. Du Xiaofu's eyes involuntarily twitched a few times. His gaze hardened fiercely, looking at the old man with unconcealable fear. The primordial demonic dragon clan's demonic dragon ancestor. How could he not know this old man? Back then in the Qian Su Jinghua heaven, he, Chu Daoju, Ling Feng, Long San and more than 200 other immortal stage experts were besieged by many beast clans, but they relied on the ancient desolate space to hide for a very long time. But later, they actually invited a meditative expert, who easily broke open the ancient desolate space and forced him out. This old man was none other than the demonic dragon ancestor. Du Xiaofu was very puzzled. The Qian Su Jinghua heaven's many beast clans had not set foot in the other 32 heavens for many years, so why would they appear here today? In fact, it was not only Du Xiaofu who was puzzled, the countless experts of the Yin Qiong Endless Heaven were also very puzzled. Especially those high-level immortal realm experts, they could clearly feel that this old man's strength was unfathomable. He was definitely a terrifying lord. Vague patterns of the great Tao filled the air around him, which was the symbol of a meditative forgetfulness expert. Swish! In the next moment, 2 figures appeared beside the demonic dragon ancestor. One was a giant old man several meters tall, covered in green skin, his muscles. His muscles firm, his muscles and muscles. From his appearance, he was a giant. The second is 2, heaven. Their bodies, their auras, their dark auras were heaven, and in heaven, they in heaven, and God of heaven and nature. Of the heaven of earth, heaven of there of heaven of heaven of heaven of. To heaven to heaven, of heaven to earth is their bodies to dark aura, dark heaven. They to of world to die together with the demonic dragon ancestor. These 2 people were like an abyss. They contained an aura of peerless power. Meditative realm. This is definitely the meditative realm. Among the experts of the Yin Qiong Void Heaven, some of them could not help trembling as they thought to themselves. Looking at the appearance of these 3 people, they seemed to be from the 3 strongest races of the Qian Su Jinghua Heaven. The 3 meditative realm ancestors have appeared. What do they want to do in the Yin Qiong Void Heaven? I'm afraid their purpose is not simple. Perhaps it has something to do with the burial space mountain. Many people were making guesses in their hearts. Many people had some understanding of the Qian Su Jinghua Heaven. However, there were not many people who knew the specific situation. All of them were bewildered that 3 meditative realm experts had suddenly appeared. They did not know whether their purpose was related to the burial space mountain. If it was, perhaps there would be even more unforeseen events today. Just when everyone's shock had just risen, a series of swish sounds were heard. The void vibrated again and again. Following that, more and more figures appeared. All of them came behind this old man. Although these people who appeared all had human bodies, they all retained some strange shapes. At first glance, one could tell that they were experts of the Beast Clan. and each of them was unexpectedly at the immortal realm. The lowest among them was at the third or fourth heavenly layer. In total, there were more than 100,000 of them. This number was too frightening. Perhaps all the strongest experts of that world had come. Others did not know, but Du Xiaofu knew very well that the Qian Su Jinghua heaven only had several 100,000 experts of the immortal realm in total. This number also included a large number of first heavenly layer and second heavenly layer immortal realm experts. And now, except for the 3 meditative realm experts, the rest of the people who came here were at least at the third or fourth heavenly layer immortal realm. What does the Qian Su Jinghua heaven want to do? Du Xiaofu's eyes darkened. Things had changed again. It was completely out of his expectation. Chu Daoju, Ling Feng, Long San, Yu Taiyan and the others had told him that because of some special reasons, the countless races of the Qian Su Jinghua heaven would not leave that world. And experts from other worlds would rarely set foot there. What could make so many beasts of the Qian Su Jinghua heaven flock here? Du Xiaofu would not believe that these people came here for him. Just because they failed to kill him that year, they specially came to the Yin Qiong Wu Kuei heaven. These people must have come here for some other purpose. He could not help looking back at the mountain range behind him. The most attractive place here was absolutely that burial space mountain behind him. Du Xiaofu. While Du Xiaofu was sizing up the experts of the Qian Su Jinghua heaven, many people of the Beast clan also saw him. Especially those of the primordial demonic dragon clan, the green blood giant clan and the divine netherworld clan. They would never forget the appearance of that purple-robed youth. In those days, the 2 lords of the demon clan ordered them to kill more than 200 human immortals who had intruded into the Qian Su Jinghua heaven. And if they could not do it, they would absolutely kill that youth called Du Xiaofu. But in the end, they failed. Under the circumstances that the grand demonic dragon clan's seeded forgetfulness ancestor came into being, they actually failed to kill more than 200 immortals. This was absolutely a great humiliation. The power behind Du Xiaofu showed up in the Qian Su Jinghua heaven with a knife and scared off the dragon demon ancestor directly. Therefore, how could they possibly forget the appearance of that purple-robed youth? We meet again. Du Xiaofu's eyes did not evade. He faced the beasts of the Qian Su Jinghua heaven head-on. If it was in the past, when he was only at the truth-severing stage, any expert from the other side could easily kill him. But now he was no longer the same as before. He had improved too much. Even if he faced someone at the high level of immortals, he would not be afraid. Good boy, I didn't expect you to be in the Yin Qiong Wu rotten heaven. There's a path to heaven, but you don't want to take it. Instead, you barge into hell, said an old man at the 9th sky of immortal realm from the primordial demonic dragon clan. He pointed at Du Xiaofu and said coldly. His eyes were filled with hatred. He could not wait to kill that purple-robed youth directly. Ha! Du Xiaofu smiled leisurely. He curled his lips and said, "You've said this many times in the past, but I'm still standing here, alive and well." He raised his eyelids and looked at the other side with contempt. How could he be nice to these beasts who had hunted him in the past? Around them, seeing that Du Xiaofu seemed to know those experts who had suddenly arrived and their relationship was not harmonious, the people of the Yin Qiong Wu rotten heaven came up with many speculations in an instant. Does this boy have a grudge against the experts of the Qian Su Jinghua heaven? They've been at each other's throats as soon as they met. It can't be wrong. Let's wait and see. Maybe if they fight again, we'll have more chances. Some people began to communicate with each other through telepathy. No one was willing to give up the benefits in the depths of the burial space mountain. If Du Xiaofu and the beasts of the Qian Su Jinghua heaven got into a fight, the people of the Yin Qiong Wu rotten heaven might also have a chance. Moreover, they did not have to offend the power behind that purple-robed youth. It was really the best of both worlds. Young man, you're still so arrogant. You must put an end to what you did in the Qian Su Jinghua heaven in the past. At this moment, that old man from the primordial demonic dragon clan suddenly opened his mouth and said softly. His words sounded very powerless. It seemed that he was not serious at all. However, Du Xiaofu could hear that those words were mixed with an unconcealable killing intent that came straight at him. Is this boy Du Xiaofu? I've also heard about what happened in the past. Since we've run into him here today, we can't let him live. He must be killed. I also know about this. He hurt countless clans of the Qiansu Jinghua Heaven and even ate many beasts as meat. This debt, no matter what, must be properly settled. Beside the demonic dragon ancestor, the seated forgetfulness experts from the Green Blood Giant clan and the Divine Netherworld clan respectively looked at Du Xiaofu. Their eyes all lit up. As they spoke, their killing intent burst forth. Although they did not directly participate in what happened in the past, they all received reports from their clans. Naturally, they knew about it. Since the two lords of the demonic dragon clan had listed this boy as a must-kill person, it could be seen that he was definitely not ordinary. And the facts also proved this point. The power behind him was extremely terrifying. Just that blood gold long blade was enough to prove it. Therefore, since they met him here today, how could they let him go again? As long as something or someone as terrifying as that long blade did not appear again, with the three seated forgetfulness experts on their side and the several 100,000 immortal stage experts, killing him would be as easy as turning over their hands. If you want to kill me, just bring it on. Du Xiaofu frowned. He looked at the many experts of the Qiansu Jinghua Heaven and said, I'd like to see how you're going to kill me. And if you can't do it, then you'll have to contribute some more meat. The corners of his mouth carried a hint of a ferocious smile. He did not have the slightest good impression of the beasts of the Qiansu Jinghua Heaven. Father, do you know these people? Beside Du Xiaofu, the mark between little Xingxing's eyebrows gave off a bewitching brilliance. She looked straight at the many experts in front of her and asked aloud. Du Xiaofu nodded. Without concealing anything, he quickly gave a rough account of the origins of the many beasts of the Qiansu Jinghua Heaven. So that's how it is. Since you're a bunch of trash who've been trampled on, why are you still so arrogant? Du Xiaoyao pulled up the corners of her mouth into a smile. She was also not afraid of the oppressive power of the several 100,000 experts. Du Xiaofu's enemies were naturally her own enemies. And these people had once suffered a great loss because of Du Xiaofu, so naturally they could be considered to have been ruthlessly trampled on. Du Xiaoyao had always been a guy who was incomparably good at mocking others. At this time, how could she possibly give up ruthlessly mocking them? It was also her words that made the faces of many beasts collapse. They were so gloomy that water seemed to drip out of them. Young man, you're indeed very extraordinary. The demonic dragon ancestor spoke again. He turned a deaf ear to Du Xiaoyao's mocking words. He only looked at Du Xiaofu and said. This time, his eyes carried some seriousness. Within this seriousness, there was also a very well-concealed feeling of shock. He only heard him say, Your cultivation has greatly improved again. Moreover, unexpectedly, you've also grasped the 4 great primitive laws at the same time. Moreover, you've succeeded in fusing them and stepped into the virtual path realm. I have to say, you're indeed very heaven-defying. The demonic dragon ancestor's words sounded very calm. It seemed that he was not surprised by Du Xiaofu's current changes. However, just as he was speaking, an old palm was slowly raised. This old palm was covered in wrinkles, like the dried bark of a tree. However, just as it moved, the void suddenly condensed, and there was a strange charm being driven by it. The power of law naturally circulated within those 5 fingers, and was casually weaved by the demonic dragon ancestor. Then, it produced dense patterns of the great Tao, which slowly spread out, wrapping around Du Xiaofu. In an instant, Du Xiaofu's body stood in place, unable to move. It was as if he had been immobilized, unable to move. This feeling was too terrifying. In the next moment, Du Xiaofu's forehead was covered in sweat. He immediately channeled the power in his body. The power of the 4 great primitive laws roared crazily. Then, it produced a Tao rhythm that contended against the demonic dragon ancestor's methods. Du Xiaofu clenched his teeth tightly. He did not make a sound, but he silently roared in his heart. He felt an enormous pressure. His entire body was ruthlessly suppressed by the power of the great Tao. He was completely unable to break free. The meditative realm was too terrifying. It was far from what the immortal realm could compare to. Even if Du Xiaofu was in the virtual realm and could produce Dao rhythm that could offset a small amount of the suppression of the great Dao, it still could not change the foundation. In less than half a breath, his purple robe was drenched in sweat. His entire body seemed to have been hollowed out. He had no strength and was about to collapse. They really made a move. The meditative realm powerhouse is so terrifying. That purple-robed youth can't resist. He's already abnormal enough. He can actually resist for a moment. In front of the meditative realm powerhouse, the immortal realm is like an ant that can be easily squashed to death. However, he can only resist slightly. That purple-robed youth is really extraordinary. If it weren't for his short cultivation time, he would definitely be a hero of his generation. So what if he's strong? If the meditative realm powerhouse makes a move, there's no way for him to survive. He'll definitely die today. In the distance, the powerhouses of Yin Qiong Wujio Heaven had already retreated. Many people could not suppress the shock in their hearts as they watched the situation between Du Xiaofu and the demonic dragon ancestor. They began to discuss it. They did not think highly of Du Xiaofu. After all, he was still too young and his cultivation was not strong enough. If a meditative realm powerhouse wanted to kill him, it would be no different from squashing an ant. Is a virtual realm powerhouse going to die here? That's an existence that rarely appeared in ancient times. It's a pity that he's going to die. Some people had such thoughts in their hearts. Although many people from Yin Qiong Wujio Heaven wanted to kill the purple-robed youth and his two companions to learn about the secrets of Burial Sky Mountain. However, when they saw that he was going to die, they felt strange. Dead. Boss. Little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao were a little anxious. Since they knew that the old man who attacked was in the meditative realm, how could they let their guard down? If this situation was allowed to continue, Du Xiaofu would die without a doubt. In fact, if he had not mastered the 4 primordial laws and successfully derived the Dao rhyme, he would not have been able to hold on for half a breath in front of a meditative realm powerhouse. He would have been suppressed to death. Therefore, when they saw Du Xiaofu's ferocious face, Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing did not even think about it. They directly rushed in front of Du Xiaofu and blocked a large amount of the great Dao origin energy for him. Get out of the way! Du Xiaofu made a ho-ho sound from his throat. He wanted to shout at little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao. Under the suppression of the demonic dragon ancestor's great Dao origin energy, he could still withstand it for a moment. However, with the strength of these two people, he was afraid that they would die if they touched it. If the demonic dragon ancestor wanted to, he only needed a thought to mobilize a terrifying power to kill them in an instant. Du Xiaofu was not afraid. He could resist for a short time, but he was not willing to let his daughter and brother take the risk. Senior brother, what other tricks do you have? It's time to show them. Du Xiaofu shouted silently in his heart, but he did not dare relax his mind in the slightest. All his confidence was based on his senior brother Lu Xiaoyu. He was the one who had arranged for little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao to enter the Burial Sky Mountain to obtain the ancient inheritance. Everything that had happened here must have been under his control. Therefore, Du Xiaofu believed that at this time, the hidden trick should be revealed. Otherwise, he might be able to hold on for a few breaths, but little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao really would not be able to withstand it. They would definitely die in front of him. Little guys, are you Du Xiaofu's brother and daughter? The demonic dragon ancestor raised his eyelids and looked at Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing who had rushed in front of Du Xiaofu. As usual, he said softly, if that's the case, then die with him. Chapter 2870. Little Xingxing's big brother. After the dragon demon ancestor finished speaking with a thought, he directly mobilized a terrifying power and rushed towards the 3 people in front of him at the same time. The quintessence of the Grand Dao was shapeless and shapeless, yet it was extremely terrifying. Everything it came into contact with would instantly transform into chaos and vanish into nothingness. Kikik, is that brat Du Xiaofu finally going to die? His death can be considered as an explanation to the two lords of the demon race. Not only that, but the death of many beasts in our Qiansu Jinghua heaven will also be avenged. The disgrace of the past will be washed away today. Seeing the dragon demon ancestor take action, all the beasts in the Qiansu Jinghua heaven became excited. Towards Du Xiaofu, they wished for nothing more than to kill him as soon as possible. In that battle, at least several thousand undying beasts died in their hands, including those killed by Yuqing Divine Emperor Yu Taiyan with the Blood Slaughterer. What was even more hateful was that the purple-robed young man treated many undying beasts as meat and ate them. And later, that guy appeared in the Qiansu Jinghua heaven again. Before leaving, he killed another immortal level one of the sky-swallowing demonic wolf clan. So for many beasts, if this guy didn't die, he would definitely be a disgrace to the entire Qiansu Jinghua heaven. Back then, hundreds of thousands of undying beasts couldn't take him down. Today's matter couldn't be repeated. Under everyone's gaze, little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao, who were blocking in front of Du Xiaofu, were quickly obliterated and became more and more illusory. Perhaps in the next moment, they would completely collapse and die an unnatural death. This was the crushing power of the Great Path, which represented the supreme power that could annihilate all existences in the world. The golden-robed young man and the little girl were only at Immortal Level 1 or Immortal Level 2. How could they resist such a ferocious attack? Get out of the way! Du Xiaofu shouted crazily in his heart. He wanted to push the two away, but he couldn't even speak. How could he do it? The meditative realm was really too terrifying. It was definitely not something he could contend against. If it wasn't for the fact that he was in the Void Dao realm and could produce Dao aura, he would have been killed at the first moment. Little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao felt some despair as well. They only felt powerless against a supreme expert. However, the two of them did not regret it at all. As Du Xiaofu's family, even if they could only fight for a short period of time, even if they had to sacrifice their own lives, they would not hesitate. Young man, and this? From now on, there will be no trace of you in this world. The dragon demon ancestor muttered. In his heart, he was extremely surprised by the three people in front of him. Whether it was Du Xiaofu or the other two, all of them possessed a terrifying talent that was rarely seen in this world. But today, three of them had appeared at once, and each one was more abnormal than the last. Killing these three young people made the demonic dragon ancestor feel a sense of joy for no reason. A young expert of the Void Dao realm is going to die just like that? What a pity! He's going to fall immediately before he can truly rise. Who in this world can stop a meditative realm expert when he attacks? Unless other experts of the meditative realm come to his rescue in time. Once they die, the situation in the burial space mountain will also be buried in the dust. It will be difficult to investigate clearly. Many people from the Inqiong Wujio heaven let out a series of sighs. They were deeply shocked by the aptitudes of Du Xiaofu, Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing. They also felt extremely sorry for their imminent death. At the same time, many people thought of the burial space mountain. Everything related to this special place left behind from the ancient times would probably continue to be covered up. However, just as Du Xiaofu, Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing were feeling powerless, the more than 100,000 people from the Qiansu Jinghua heaven sneered, and many people from the Inqiong Wujio heaven shook their heads and sighed. A light voice of a young man suddenly rang out in the void. My sister, is she someone an old bastard like you can touch? This voice was light and elegant, carrying an otherworldly feeling. It sounded very pleasing to the ear, but it also contained endless biting cold intent. Chi-la. As soon as the young man's voice fell, a slender palm stretched out from the void in front of Du Xiaofu, Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing. The 5 fingers of this palm were slightly bent and gently flicked. It seemed slow, but it was actually incomparably fast. Every time it flicked out, a great Dao pattern was destroyed. In just the blink of an eye, the great Dao traces carved by the demonic dragon ancestor disappeared rapidly. Following that, the palm didn't stop there and directly moved towards the aged figure. Pa! Under everyone's shocked gaze, that palm suddenly slapped the demonic dragon ancestor's cheek, and his body was sent tumbling away. Along with it, several blood-stained molars and blood were spat out, drawing arcs in the void. An expert is coming. This was the first thought that emerged in everyone's hearts. Needless to say, there was definitely an even more terrifying expert who had rushed over and directly attacked. In a single exchange, he had caused the demonic dragon ancestor, who was in the meditative realm, to suffer a huge loss. It could be seen just how powerful this person was. Is he finally here? Du Xiaofu let out a long sigh of relief. He was not too surprised. It must be the experts arranged by senior brother Lu Xiaoyu. He checked the situation of Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing and found that they were seriously injured. Fortunately, their lives were not in danger, so he relaxed and cast his gaze forward. He saw a slender figure walk out from the void. It did not cause the slightest fluctuation, as if it had crossed the barrier of time and space. This man was extraordinarily handsome and looked very young. He was not even 30 years old, and his entire body was filled with an indescribable noble temperament. He was different from ordinary people. After he arrived, he went directly to Du Xiaofu and the other two. He smiled at the three of them, but in the end, his gaze was fixed on little Xingxing. He revealed a deep affection and said softly, "Little sister, big brother is late." Little Xingxing's brother? Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao were stunned, and surprise appeared on their faces. It turned out that the young man in front of them was little Xingxing's big brother. Then, wasn't he the son of the dragon god? This kind of understanding especially caused Du Xiaoyao to be inexplicably surprised. He was very clear about the dragon god. That was an extremely terrifying existence. His son would naturally not be any weaker. This was definitely a terrifying expert. Du Xiaofu was not as shocked as Du Xiaoyao. He had even seen the Lord of the 3,000 Great Worlds, and the other party was his senior brother. At this time, when he saw little Xingxing's big brother, he was naturally not overly shocked. Big brother. In an instant, tears streamed down little Xingxing's beautiful face. She immediately threw herself into the arms of the man in front of her and hugged him tightly. She could not help but cry bitterly. "Big brother. You're my big brother. Our bloodline connection can't be wrong. Big brother." Little Xingxing could not stop sobbing. She cried like a child. As the daughter of the dragon god, the bloodline in her body was not ordinary. The young man in front of her had a very close connection with her bloodline. They were from the same sect. "You've suffered all these years. I'm sorry." The young man gently patted little Xingxing's back. 2 streaks of tears streaked across his face, and his expression was full of guilt. He had always known of his sister's existence and had wanted to reunite with her for a long time. However, his father had his own plans, so the day of their reunion had not arrived until today. The young man knew that his sister had suffered too much over the years. Compared to the unique conditions he had since he was young, it was not just a little bit worse. Therefore, when little Xingxing cried, his entire heart softened, as if it was about to melt. "Little Xingxing, I've finally seen her family." Little Xingxing cried non-stop, but Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao were very happy. Little Xingxing was also their family. Seeing her reunite with her family was naturally something to be happy about. Right at this moment, the dragon devil ancestor, who was sent flying by a slap, turned around again and stood together with the many beast men of the Qian Su Jinghua heaven. "May I ask who you are?" Beside the dragon devil ancestor, the seated forgetfulness expert from the green blood giant clan suppressed his tone and tried to appear as calm as possible. He did not dare to speak too fiercely for fear of angering the other party. After all, that young man had just revealed a little of his strength. The origin of the great Tao condensed by the dragon devil ancestor was easily broken by him. This was definitely not something that just anyone could do. However, they had 3 seated forgetfulness experts on this trip, so they were not really afraid of the other party. If they really fought, the outcome was not certain. What they had to do now was to probe the specific strength of that man. "All right, don't cry, little sister. Your second brother also received the news and is on his way. You'll be able to see him very soon." The young man did not immediately pay attention to the seated forgetfulness expert from the green blood giant clan. Instead, he held little Xingxing's cheek and gently wiped away her tears, saying softly, "Yes." Little Xingxing nodded fiercely and smiled through her tears. "The beastmen of the Qiansu Jinghua heaven, are you really tired of living?" Only after seeing little Xingxing's state of mind calmed down did the man turn around. Facing the several 100,000 beastmen, he said with a cold look in his eyes, "Several hundred years ago, you besieged more than 200 immortal stage experts of the Yuqing divine nation. I haven't settled this debt with you yet. Today, you actually attacked my sister. It seems that if I don't exterminate you, you'll really think that we're easy to bully." As the man spoke, a vast and mighty aura of slaughter emanated from his body. It shot into the 9 heavens, and it caused waves of terrifying fluctuations to arise in the entire world. The Yinqiong boundless sky was trembling, and the sky became dim. Fierce thunder rumbled in the clear sky, and it emanated an overbearing pressure that caused countless living beings to panic. "Young man, don't be too arrogant." At this moment, the demonic dragon ancestor's face was extremely ugly. He was slapped in the face and lost all his face. More importantly, the other party looked very young. Although he was a meditative forgetfulness expert, he seemed to have unlimited vitality, unlike himself who was on the verge of death. "So you're related to the Yuqing divine nation. Sir, where exactly are you from?" The meditative forgetfulness expert of the divine Nether clan also spoke at this moment. He stared at the young man with a pair of dead eyes that contained a ruthless aura. He was not particularly afraid. Of the 3 meditative forgetfulness experts on his side, other than the demonic dragon ancestor who was in a somewhat special situation, he and the old man from the green blood giant clan had both reached the 2nd stage, Land of Oblivion. As long as the other party was not at the 3rd stage of meditative forgetfulness, he was nothing to be afraid of. "Humph! I don't need to tell you where I'm from." Little Xingxing's brother coldly snorted, then turned his gaze to the demonic dragon ancestor and said coldly, "Demonic dragon ancestor, is it? So what if I, Long K, am arrogant? The Dao injury on your body, I'm afraid it was caused by my Uncle Lu's bloodshed back then, right? Ha! You were originally at the 2nd stage of meditative forgetfulness, but now your cultivation has rapidly regressed, leaving you with only the strength of the 1st stage of meditative forgetfulness. What qualifications do you have to call me arrogant?" His gaze was cold, as if he was staring at a dead man, at the demonic dragon ancestor. And his words also shocked many of the Qiansu Jinghua Heaven's beast clans. So the owner of that blood gold long blade back then was the uncle of the man in front of them. Other than that, what was even more shocking was that only now did everyone know that the demonic dragon ancestor's cultivation had actually regressed from the 2nd stage of meditative forgetfulness back then to the 1st stage of forgetfulness. And this was caused by that bloody slaughter back then. Thinking about it this way, just what kind of strength did the owner of that blood gold long blade have to be able to sever the cultivation path of a 2nd stage meditative forgetfulness expert with just the power of a treasure, causing the demonic dragon ancestor to suffer an irrecoverable Dao injury, causing his cultivation to plummet? Senior brother's cultivation, I'm afraid it's even more unfathomable than I imagined. Du Xiaofu was also inwardly speechless. He had guessed senior brother Lu Xiaoyou's strength, and felt that the other party was most likely at the peak of the 3rd stage of meditative forgetfulness, only a step away from stepping into the path attainment realm. But now that he knew this kind of thinking was somewhat shaken. Perhaps senior brother Lu Xiaoyu was already a path attainment expert. If that was really the case, then his background would be extremely awesome. With such an expert behind him, no wonder that young man who called himself Long K, who was also little Xingxing's big brother, would be so domineering. You are indeed arrogant enough. Since that's the case, then let us have a taste of your methods. The green blood giant clan's meditative forgetfulness expert stepped out, his tall and sturdy body moving horizontally in the void, like a small mountain moving. As he walked, his huge feet stepped in the void, shaking with terrifying sounds, causing heaven and earth to tremble along with him. Quickly seal your hearing." Once this sound was heard, the surrounding experts immediately shouted, circulating the energy in their bodies with all their might, sealing off their hearing. Many people could easily sense that every time the green blood giant took a step, it contained the mighty power of the great Tao that shot out, transforming into terrifying sound waves, spreading through the heavens and earth. If they did not take any measures to deal with it, the souls of many living beings present would probably be shaken to the point of dispersing. Fortunately, his target was not the crowd, but little Xingxing's big brother Long Quebec. Otherwise, a second-stage meditative forgetfulness expert could instantly kill countless immortals. "How dare you be so impudent?" Long K's handsome brows furrowed, and he snorted. He waved out a ray of light, protecting Du Xiaofu, Du Xiaoyao, and little Xingxing behind him. Then his 10 fingers drew across the air, jumping continuously. Lines of laws were being woven, lines of the great Tao were being engraved, and waves of origin energy were rising. Between his palms and fingers, scenes appeared one after another, containing the cycle of heaven's secrets, the overturning of the world, the changes of time and space. Everything was included, and nothing was tolerated. "Kill!" The meditative forgetfulness expert of the green blood giant clan roared, and his fists were like dragons bursting out of a cave. The origin energy of the great Tao burst forth, destroying everything, and instantly arrived in front of Long K. The boundless origin energy turned into the purest form of energy, punching the heavens and killing the earth, unstoppable. Transforming Tao into energy, using strength to break through techniques, the green blood giant clan's talent is indeed not weak. Seeing his opponent attacking, Long K's body did not move at all. His hands formed a palm-sized world shape and gently pushed it out, welcoming the attack. Crackle! The two people's attacks collided in an instant, and the origin energy of the great Tao clashed violently. However, there was no earth-shattering rumble, nor was there any dazzling light. The result of the two's collision seemed to be very ordinary, and it only set off a rather strong storm that drifted in the surroundings. Puff, puff, puff. However, in the next moment, the storm swept across the sky with great momentum. It instantly swept past the bodies of dozens of Yin Qiong Wu Tian experts and killed them instantly. Not even a trace of them was left behind. Among them was the fifth sky of Immortal Realm expert of the Eclipse Leopard clan who attacked Du Xiaofu. He was killed in the blink of an eye, and he didn't even have time to dodge. So strong. The meditative forgetfulness expert of the Green Blood Giant clan was blasted away. The origin of the great Tao he had condensed was scattered, and he was hit hard. His chest was stuffy and he was short of breath. As soon as he steadied himself, he grunted from his chest, and a big mouthful of blood spurted into the void. On the other side, after Long K's attack, his body didn't move at all, as if he had never fought with anyone. He stood there with his robe fluttering, looking indescribably outstanding. Obviously, he hadn't used his full strength. Even an expert of the second level of meditative forgetfulness couldn't withstand a single blow. Little Xingxing's big brother is actually so strong. Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao looked at each other, and they saw the astonishment in each other's eyes. As the son of the dragon god, it was reasonable for Long K to be strong. However, Du Xiaofu didn't expect him to be this strong. What a powerful young man! The eyes of the demonic dragon ancestor and the meditative forgetfulness expert of the divine Nether clan also trembled. They were shocked by Long K's strength. They looked at each other for a while, then nodded at the same time. This time, we have more important things to do in the Yinqiong Wu Tian. It's not good to cause trouble here. These people in front of us must be taken care of as soon as possible. It seems that we can only gather more meditative forgetfulness experts of the Qian Su Jinghua heaven here to fight. The demonic dragon ancestor's turbid eyes suddenly glowed, and his shriveled lips trembled as he murmured. Chapter 2871. The strength displayed by Long K made the demonic dragon ancestor extremely fearful. Both he and the Green Blood Giant clan's meditative realm experts were repelled in an instant. This was too terrifying, making one's heart tremble uncontrollably. At this moment, the demonic dragon ancestor even felt that the opponent was very likely an expert of the third stage of meditative realm, reaching the level of looking through reincarnation. Otherwise, he would not be so terrifying. He did not kill him at the first moment, perhaps he had other thoughts. He also did not know when such a terrifying expert appeared in the 33 heavens. Why was there no news at all? After all, if one were to add up all the meditative and forgetful realms in the 33 heavens, one could easily count them all. The birth of one was a world-shaking matter. That important matter cannot be lost. We can only do so. Besides mobilizing more meditative realm experts, we must also invite the Nirvana Devil ancestor of your primordial Devil Dragon clan. Otherwise, I'm afraid no one will be able to suppress this brat in front of us. The meditative realm expert of the divine Netherworld clan said to the demonic dragon ancestor with an incomparably solemn expression. It was not difficult for him to judge the situation in front of him. He deeply felt the need to invite the Nirvana Devil ancestor. Otherwise, even if the other meditative realm experts of the Qian Su Jinghua heaven all came out, it would be difficult to take down that young man called Long K. Only when the Nirvana Devil ancestor came out, could they use the strength of the third stage of meditative realm to intimidate the opponent. Only then would it be safe enough. Fortunately, now that the important matter is about to arrive, the old fellows of the Qian Su Jinghua heaven have all come out. Otherwise, to mobilize more meditative realm experts in a short period of time would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. The demonic dragon ancestor could not help but sigh. When Du Xiaofu and more than 200 immortal realm experts broke into the Qian Su Jinghua heaven, except for himself, the rest of the meditative realm experts were all in seclusion and could not be disturbed. However, in these past years, following the deal with the demonic lord, those old fellows also woke up from their slumber and could be mobilized at any time. Gather everyone, we can't delay any longer. The green blood giant said in a deep voice. Then, with a flip of his palm, a strange brilliance floated in his palm. He crushed it, and the message was instantly sent out. After the Qian Su Jinghua heaven received the news, the meditative forgetfulness experts could directly use the origin of the Great Way to cross the boundless space. It would not take them much time to reach this world. They would arrive very soon. Are you planning to call for help? On the other side, the corner of Long Fault's mouth curled into a smile, and there wasn't the slightest bit of fear on his face. Big brother, why don't we leave this place first? Little Xingxing went up and pulled on Long Fault's arm, as he said worriedly. Right now, only his big brother was in the meditative state, while there were 3 people from the beast tribe. If more powerful cultivators were to arrive, the situation would be very disadvantageous for them. At that time, Big Brother would have to take care of himself, his father, and Uncle Xiaoyao. He might not be able to help. Don't worry, little sister. Since these people from the Qianshu Jinghua heaven want to play, how can we not accompany them to the end? Long Fault stroked little Xingxing's head dotingly, as he looked at her with a smile. Afterwards, he no longer paid attention to the many beast tribes in the Qianshu Jinghua heaven. Instead, he turned to look at Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao, and said with a deep bow, "You should be Martial Uncle Du. I'll have to trouble you to take care of my little sister all these years." His tone was very natural, and also very polite. His gratitude towards Du Xiaofu was extremely sincere. "You flatter me. Little Xingxing is my daughter. Taking care of her is something I should do." Du Xiaofu was a bit embarrassed as he hurriedly returned the bow. This big brother of little Xingxing was an absolute expert. How could he dare to slight him? One must know that the other party was the dragon god's son. He had cultivated for many years, and his actual age was also much older than him. Strictly speaking, he should be calling him senior. Martial Uncle Du, there's no need to be like this. Seniority cannot be confused. Long Fault leaned to the side, avoiding Du Xiaofu's return of the bow, and said seriously. As the dragon god's son and Uncle Lu's junior brother, he naturally had to call him Martial Uncle. This had nothing to do with age. What's more, the other party was little Xingxing's father. No matter what, he definitely deserved to be called Martial Uncle Du. "Big brother, how are father and mother?" Are they well? At this time, little Xingxing opened her mouth again. Her large eyes suddenly turned red as she looked at Long Fault and asked. The people she missed the most in these years were her father and mother. She had thought that after coming to the 33 heavens, she would be able to see them very quickly. But now, several hundred years had passed in a hurry, and she had just come out from the burial void mountain. But luckily she had finally met her brother today. Then, she would naturally be able to see her parents very soon as well. Father and mother miss you very much. They have always been secretly paying attention to you. Don't worry, it won't be long before our family can be reunited. A gentle smile surfaced on Long Fault's face as he said to little Xingxing. Little Xingxing nodded her head upon hearing this. Then, she told her big brother about some of the things that had happened in these few years. Hearing this, Long Fault felt both emotional and pained. Du Xiaofu, Du Xiaoyao, and Long Fault had also gradually become more familiar with each other. In their conversations, they no longer treated the other party as a terrifying expert that they could not reach. With little Xingxing's layer of relationship, the relationship between them naturally grew closer. They chatted very eagerly. During this process, the several 100,000 beasts of the Qiansu Jinghua heaven were all coldly watching the scene. That young man called Long Fault was too strong. They did not dare to act blindly without thinking. And the other party was not in a hurry to act. Their side also needed to wait for the other people of the Qiansu Jinghua heaven to arrive. This caused the scene to sink into a rare peace. Neither side continued to attack. However, this rare peace was quickly broken. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Not long after, a trace of great Tao origin energy once again appeared in the void and flowed past. Following that, another 6 figures appeared out of thin air and descended on the scene. These 6 people all appeared to have different degrees of old age. Moreover, they all retained some of the characteristics of the beasts. Seeing them appear, the 3 meditative experts of the Qiansu Jinghua heaven all went up to them in an instant and walked to their side. Niemo ancestor. Among the several 100,000 immortal stage experts, many experts from the primordial devil dragon clan bent down at the same time and bowed to the head of the old man. They called out to their ancestor. Niemo ancestor, it's actually the Niemo ancestor. The remaining beasts all boiled up. Each and every one of them opened their mouths wide, appearing to be in disbelief. Many people had heard of the Niemo ancestor's name. He was a terrifying expert who had survived from the ancient times until now. He seemed to have experienced the devil war of the past. Although he had been in closed-door training for many years, many people knew that he was the strongest existence of the primordial devil dragon clan. With a cultivation level of the 3rd stage of meditative forgetfulness, he could be said to be the #1 expert of the Qiansu Jinghua heaven. Without a doubt, his strength was extremely terrifying, absolutely to the point of making people tremble. The Niemo ancestor has appeared. This is good. That Du Xiaofu will undoubtedly die today, even if he has the support of that young man. Many beasts began to get excited. The Niemo ancestor gave them a strong confidence. Needless to say, as long as the young man called Dragon Fault was restrained, the other meditative forgetfulness experts would attack. How could that human Du Xiaofu not die? At the same time, under the leadership of the Niemo ancestor, even if Dragon Fault really reached the level of looking through reincarnation, under the joint attack of a total of 9 meditative forgetfulness experts, he might still die today. Such an outcome was absolutely perfect. So many meditative forgetfulness experts. The Qiansu Jinghua heaven has turned out in full force? Du Xiaofu's eyelids twitched violently. His heart trembled for no reason. In the past, even one meditative forgetfulness expert was hard to come by. But today, so many appeared all of a sudden. 9 from the Qiansu Jinghua heaven, plus Dragon Fault, a total of 10 meditative forgetfulness experts. The number of meditative forgetfulness experts in any of the 33 heavens worlds was probably only around this number. Thinking about it this way, it was absolutely terrifying. In the distance, a large number of Yin Qiong Wu Dao heavens experts were already dumbstruck. Everyone's mouth was wide open, looking at the scene over there in disbelief. Most of these people had never seen a meditative forgetfulness expert, but today they saw so many of them all at once. The important thing was, these people came from the outside world, not from the Incheong Wudao heaven. You came here, why haven't you entered the burial space mountain yet? At this moment, one of the 6 meditative forgetfulness experts of the Qian Su Jinghua heaven who had just arrived asked. His gaze swept over the dragon devil ancestor and the other 2, and his brows unconsciously furrowed. That brat who caused havoc in my Qian Su Jinghua heaven back then has appeared again. The dragon devil ancestor looked at Du Xiaofu in the distance with his turbid eyes and said, "Oh." The Nyemo ancestor who had just arrived looked even more aged and decrepit than the dragon devil ancestor, but everyone knew that one couldn't judge his strength by his appearance. As he spoke, he raised his eyes and looked at the purple-robed youth. With a somewhat curious expression, he asked in reply, "Is that the brat that those 2 lords named to kill back then?" "Exactly." The Green Blood Giant clan's meditative forgetfulness expert nodded solemnly, then turned his gaze to Dragonfault and said, "And that young man's cultivation is unfathomable. We are no match for him, so we can only ask for everyone's help." As he spoke, he gave a brief account of what had happened earlier, causing the 6 experts who had just arrived to be unable to restrain their palpitations. "The matter is urgent, we can't delay here. Let's end this quickly and get rid of these 4 people, then immediately enter the burial space mountain." The Nyemo ancestor's expression darkened. He looked at Du Xiaofu, Du Xiaoyao, Little Xingxing and Dragonfault with undisguised killing intent. "Let's move quickly. If we draw the other people from the Incheong Wudao heaven to interfere, it will be a huge problem at that time." Another expert spoke up and said. Hearing that, the others all nodded solemnly. They were currently in the Incheong Wudao heaven, in someone else's territory. If they drew the attention of this world's experts and caused them to interfere, their following actions would definitely be obstructed. This was not a good thing. Today's matter was extremely important, and they could not afford to make the slightest mistake. They had to be careful. "These little fellows, let's kill them." The Nyemo ancestor's aged eyes narrowed, staring at Dragonfault like a venomous snake as he said coldly, "Kill, let's end this quickly." The others also shouted one after another. A total of 9 meditative forgetfulness experts were divided into 2 groups. One group was led by the Nyemo ancestor, and 6 of them surrounded Dragonfault at the same time. On the other side, the 3 of them charged towards Du Xiaofu, Du Xiaoyao and Little Xingxing respectively. Terrifying great Tao origin energy boiled and spread out soundlessly, directly corroding the void into a chaotic state. In an instant, Du Xiaofu and the other 2 lost the ability to move again, unable to move. They could only watch the 3 meditative forgetfulness experts charge over, unable to do anything. The disparity in their strength was too great, and they charged over in a crushing manner. And on the other side, Dragonfault was also facing quite a predicament. With his strength, wanting to break out of the encirclement and then leave this world could be considered easy, but if he wanted to take care of Du Xiaofu and the other 2, it was truly beyond his ability. However, what was strange was that even when facing such a situation, Dragonfault still had a carefree appearance, as if he was not the least bit alarmed or confused about the safety of Little Xingxing and the other 2. "With only you here, how can you block the joint attack of the 9 of us? Daring to offend the Qian Su Jinghua heaven, then you have to pay with your life. Kill. Get rid of those 3 first, don't leave a single one alive." The meditative forgetfulness experts of the Qian Su Jinghua heaven all shouted and attacked at the same time. None of them held back, wanting to kill the people before them as soon as possible. At the same time, the demonic dragon ancestor and the others revealed gloomy smiles. They seemed to have already seen the result of Du Xiaofu's blood splattering on the spot and his body and soul being annihilated. Du Xiaofu, Du Xiaoyao, and Little Xingxing also revealed astonished expressions. They were truly powerless and unable to resist. The only thing they could do was to watch the waves of Grand Tao quintessence energy descend before them, and their entire bodies were confined on the spot, unable to move at all. They saw the god of death beckoning, saw the yellow springs opening, and the shadow of death enveloping them. But in next to no time, the three of them were surprised at the same time. All of this did not truly descend, and that terrifying scene suddenly came to an abrupt end. A marvelous wave of energy rippled out and forcibly cut off the attacks of the three meditative forgetfulness experts, causing all of their energy to leak out in an instant and sweep up an apocalyptic storm. Du Xiaofu looked ahead in astonishment. Unknowingly, another figure stood in front of the three of them for a long time. Moreover, at the same time, this figure received the attacks of the three meditative forgetfulness experts and easily destroyed them. A huge halo of light covered the outside, protecting the three of them. They were not affected by the aftershocks at all. A few vile beasts and mixed-blood dragons dare to attack my sister? Do you want to die? The newcomer also had a young face but appeared somewhat domineering. His brows slightly furrowed, he flicked his hands repeatedly. Three masses of light were instantly condensed and hit the bodies of the Qian-Su Jinghua Heaven's meditative forgetfulness experts who attacked. Pu. Three muffled sounds rose. The three of them were beaten to the point of vomiting blood and were sent flying backwards. Their faces instantly darkened and became frighteningly pale. More experts have come. The sudden situation caused everyone in the Qian-Su Jinghua Heaven to be shocked for a moment. Especially those three who were repelled, their faces were even more unsightly to the point of death. They were clearly about to succeed and be able to kill Du Xiaofu and the other two. Who would have thought that another expert would come out of nowhere and block their attacks in an instant? From this, it could be seen that the newcomer's strength was far above theirs. Perhaps he was not inferior to Dragonfault. If this was the case, did it not mean that there were two experts who could possibly reach the third stage of meditative forgetfulness and see through reincarnation standing on Du Xiaofu's side? What profound cultivation, what powerful background. What exactly are the origins of these people? The Nirvana Devil Ancestor, Dragon Devil Ancestor, and the others who attacked from all sides were also shocked. They quickly retreated and no longer continued to attack Dragonfault. Instead, they all looked at the young man who had just arrived. With his obstruction, it would probably be more difficult than ascending the heavens for the three experts of meditative forgetfulness on their side to kill Du Xiaofu. They could only rearrange themselves and pin down both him and Dragonfault. Little sister, second brother has just rushed over from the 3,000 boundless worlds. I've come a bit late. In front of Du Xiaofu, Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing, that man, after repelling the three experts, turned around. The domineering feeling between his brows was quickly restrained. He then revealed a somewhat bashful smile and said to little Xingxing, "Second brother." Hearing this man's words, the inside and outside of the arena immediately burst into an uproar. This man is that little girl's brother again. Why is their whole family so terrifying? Too terrifying. I don't even know where these people come from. Why have there never been any rumors about them in the 33 heavens? Unbelievable. Two meditative forgetfulness have appeared in a family at the same time. Moreover, they're of the same generation. This isn't the key. The key is that they're too young. This is completely illogical. The experts of the Jinghua Heaven all discussed spiritedly. Everyone's expression was incomparably solemn. They very much wanted to know the specific identity and origin of these people, but they had no clue at all. If they had known this earlier, they would have gone to ask the two lords of the Devil Clan. If this matter were to be spread out, it would probably cause a huge uproar. Two meditative forgetfulness experts appearing in a family at the same time would definitely be able to shock the world. At the same time, they thought of another question. That was, how many such experts were there in their families or forces? Could it be that they were a remnant of some ancient clan and had even more terrifying ancestors? Thinking of this, even the 9 meditative forgetfulness beasts could not help shuddering at the same time. If their guess was true, then it would really be terrifying. Existences even more powerful than meditative forgetfulness were naturally Tao carriers. These 9 meditative forgetfulness beasts, as a small group of the strongest experts in the 33 heavens, naturally knew that they were not the true strongest experts. In the ancient times, Tao carriers were not empty words. They actually existed. However, after experiencing that huge turmoil, most of them had fallen in the ancient demon war. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.